music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pans will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. And racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
We can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing
That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own. Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Ahoy and welcome to the Grand Prix World Series. We are here for round 14 in the Czech Republic track of Brno. My name is Topher Smith, and alongside me, as always, Tom Kent. Tom, welcome to the Czech Republic. This is crunch time in the championship coming up.
It very certainly is so, and today could finally be the day where Leighton House do seal promotion. And in terms of the battle between Simtech and Super Aguri in League 1, the team battle is hot enough, as is the Drivers' Championship in both League 1 and 2. And this is really getting to the business stage of the season now, isn't it?
This is the third to last round of the season. So much still to play for, as Tom just said. Leighton House can get promotion today, and they have a 1-2 on the grid, which puts them in the best position to earn that promotion today. But if it doesn't happen, it can happen at the next race in Buenos Aires or at the season finale in Laguna Seca. It doesn't have to be done today, but I'm sure Chris Kavanagh will want to get the job done as soon as possible. A few parish notes to bring you first. We have a driver change within the Andrea Moda camp, Tom. Jake Dennis, our recent London Prix winner in the world of Formula E, being signed up instead of Valentino Rossi by Lewis Bassendale at the Andrea Moda team. What do you think of this change?
I do back it. I mean, Jake Dennis, as a lot of people know, is arriving on the back of his Formula E win in London, which is also his second Formula E win, which has elevated him into the championship battle for that. In regards to this is a new ball game for him, and I really can't wait to see how well he does in this particular championship. And I think the final 3 races of the season, should he see out the season with Andrea Moda, I think will be a good learning curve for him going into season 3, where I think a lot of people are going to be going for his services.
I know that Lewis Bassendale is a big fan of Jake Dennis, so I imagine he will want to employ his services going into season 3. But before that, we do have to concentrate on his race debut and see whether he can actually get any speed out of that Andrea Moda, which I think is safe to say, Tom, easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with Jake Dennis doing, a lot of different motorsports. I mean, since he competed in GP3, he went on to do a lot of different sports cars or touring cars or whatever it was that he had been involved with. And I think Brno is a good circuit to get the learning road, because I remember last season Brno was a young drivers test, wasn't it? And a lot of drivers got experience from it. So I think this is going to be another day of learning for Jake Dennis.
Absolutely, and we wish him all the best within Andrea Moda. This time round, out-qualified by his more experienced teammate Jerome D'Ambrosio, but it is the race that counts. We'll see how he gets on there. Before we go down to the grid, let's have a look at our standings. First of all, the drivers, all of the top 10, still within a mathematical shout of being able to win the championship. At the top, Adrian Suttle, 122 points, 9 ahead of Will Power, who lines up second on the grid today. Jose Maria Lopez a further 3 behind on 110, and Marino Sato also in the 100 club on 100 points exactly. And Tom, we're getting to that point in the championship now. The top 10 still mathematically able to do it, but I'd say realistically it's probably between the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with more. I mean, the driver of the season in League 2 for me has to be Jose Maria Lopez. I think in the Eurobron, which has not always been the best car this year, or a lot of the season it hasn't been the best car, he has been putting in some solid performances. And last time out in Brno, not last time out in Estoril, sorry, both him and his Eurobron teammate Vingehoek shone on that circuit. So I would think that Eurobron are going to be in for another intriguing encounter here in Brno here today.
Well, what are Eurobron's chances of getting promotion into League 1 next season? Let's have a look at the teams. And if you notice there, we've had a couple of lines installed into this one. The top 5, separated by a gold line, those are the teams that are in contention for the title in League 2 this season. Only the top 5 still able to win the League 2 title. Leighton House on 249, Life on 203, HRT on 200, Eurobron on 157 and LaRousse on 153, and then 2 further positions down to the green line beneath the Pacific Grand Prix team. Those are the 7 teams that can still be promoted. So Modena and Pacific not in contention for the League 2 title, but they can still grab that 3rd place that is needed to be promoted up to League 1. And those 2 teams that are there, Tom, Modena and Pacific, it's quite a tall order at the moment, especially if you consider the gap between Modena and LaRousse, 57 points at the moment. That's going to require basically perfect scores, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to need a repeat of perhaps what we had in maybe in Adelaide or in Estoril or in Magny-Cours, where we had quite attrition races in League 2. And a lot of Modena's points have come at the hands of Will Stevens. So had someone with the same consistency as Will Stevens putting in performances, they may well have been in the fight for promotion, but I think they'll be looking at more at Season 3 next season.
Well, Paul Twemlow, the team principal there, will not be continuing with the team into Season 3. So if any of our viewers are watching and would like to take on the Modena team, you can get involved by getting in touch with us via social media or by sending us an email. All the details are in the descriptions. You can find us on social media at Downforce Radio. We're not too difficult to find. Make sure you get involved if you want to. There's a lot of fun to be had within the Grand Prix World Series. And speaking of fun, I'm sure that this first race day is going to be just that here at the Brno Grand Prix. Let's get down to the grid to see who is on pole. And it is Ilio Castroneves leading a Leighton House 1-2 on the grid. They can get promotion today. Can they get the job done in the race? Row 2 is an all HRT affair. Alex Lynn, our race winner in Magny-Cours, ahead of Adrian Suttle, our championship leader. Jose Maria Lopez looking for another podium this season from 5th on the grid. Alan McNish needs a decent result here today. Will Stevens and Antonio Fuoco on row 4, ahead of Marino Sato and Marcus Winkelhock, starting to come good in the last few races, now up into top 10 in the championship. Row 6, Sam Bird, he needs some points on the board today for Zach Speed. They've had a terrible season. Some points today would be good for him and for Mike Smith. Scott Speed there on the second half of row 6. Row 7, Christian Lundgaard and Jerome D'Ambrosio putting that Andrea Moda 14th on the grid. A great job from him. Ahead of Alexander Rossi and Jack Aitken on row 8. Row 9, Brendan Hartley and Mike Conway, the Pacific and the Real there. Ahead of the other Pacific and the other Real, Sergio Setticamera and Oliver Turvey on row 10. Row 11, Jamie Green given another chance within Zach Speed ahead of our debutant today, Jake Dennis and the Andrea Moda. Row 12, Sergei Sorokin and Gaston Mazzacane, and at the back, Esteban Gutierrez and Callum Ilott, who has a back of the grid penalty to serve from the last race. He will go from 26th and last today. Tom, the big question surrounding this race. Leighton House, 1-2 on the grid. Can they get the job done and secure their promotion to League 1?
I'm going to say yes, because last time out was a blip, and I think it's going to be service as normal for the Leighton House squad. Can they finally spray the champagne and seal promotion here today, as well as getting on the top step of the podium here in Brno? And we're just waiting for the cars to move when the lights go out, and away we go, Topher.
We are off and away in Brno. Will Power jumps straight into lead. Castroneves blogging down a little bit, and we've got a car off in the background already. That's Will Stevens into the barrier before even reaching the start line. We're riding on board with him. It looks like he's got some damage to his rear. I'm guessing that is. Now we're riding on board with him. I'm guessing he's been hit from behind, given that the damage is on the rear of the car. So let's try and see what has happened here. We're waiting for them to get away off the line again in the replay. Here we go. And that is Marino Sato behind him. Oh, Sato's just driven clean into the back of him off the line. And Stevens getting a little bit bogged down off the line there. And Sato not really doing enough to get out of the way there. So, Tom, how do you read that one?
I don't think Sato had enough time to stay out of the way of Stevens, to be honest with you. So we're going to get an on-board angle from Sato. Let's see if we can pick up on it.
So Sato, he tried to go around the outside, but his teammate Fuoco was there. So Sato not really having anywhere to go, to be completely fair to the Japanese driver there. Will Stevens out before even reaching the start-finish line here. That's a real shame for the modern team. And we were just saying, Tom, that they need to get some points. They need to get themselves up into promotion contention. That's not how the team wants to go about it. At the front, Will Power in the lead of Elio Castro Neves. And then right behind them, Alex Lynn already looking quite menacing and trying to get past these two here. Leighton House, they would like to get the job done today, but they do not have to. So, will they try and secure this 1-2 finish? It looks like Castro Neves already trying to get back past Will Power again. He indeed goes to the inside. And all running side by side there. Is Will Power going to concede position? Yes, he does. Castro Neves into the lead of the race once again, having started from pole. And right behind them, the HRT duo of Alex Lynn and Adrian Sutter, Lopez and Fuoco there. Sato, after coming together with Will Stevens running in 7th. Alan McNish and Marcus Fingerhock and Scott Speed round out the top 10. Halfway around the first lap at the moment. But Leighton House, I think importantly, Tom, holding on to that advantage off the line.
Yep, there was a start there. Chris Cavney, team boss of the Leighton House squad. That's the kind of start he needed to this race, but we've still got a long way to go yet. Alex Lynn doing a fine job in 3rd place, and the 2 live cars have made up a couple of positions each, so good start for Andrew Simpson and the live squad.
Well, Chris Cavney, the team principal of the Leighton House team, he's got in touch, saying that the live seemed to have so much power that he just ran straight into the back of him, but he could have backed off, as others did. I mean, I'd say that's a fair point, Tom. Sato probably could have backed out of that before ramming into the back of Will Stevens. What's your reading on that?
I think it's a racing incident, Topher. I think any penalty given to Sato would be incredibly harsh.
Well, Sam Hall, who is the team principal of the Manor team in League One, he's calling for a Sato disqualification. He's saying he backed off to get past, but then accelerated into the back of Will Stevens. Well, I think the stewards will be having a look at that one and we'll get some sort of decision later on. But for now, Tom, let's focus on the race at hand. Castro Neves leads ahead of Will Power. Leighton House 1-2 ahead of a HRT 3-4. Alex Lynn holding on to 3rd place ahead of Adrian Sutter. Now, this is going to be interesting, Tom, because, well, mathematically, both Alex Lynn and Adrian Sutter, no, as I talk about them, Alex Lynn's down the inside of Will Power into 2nd. So I was just about to say, Tom, there might be some team orders within the HRT camp, given that Sutter is a championship leader and a more realistic choice for the championship between those two. But Alex Lynn instead going for the overtake on Will Power, and he's up into 2nd.
Superb move there from Alex Lynn, and now he's going to go after Castro Neves for the race leader. And Sutter, we're just looking to see where he is. He's just behind the Will Power as we're riding on board with. This is the rear wing angle of Power. As Lynn it begins to pull away. We are expecting pit stops. I think for the 2 stoppers, we're expecting around lap 12, 13 so far, I would imagine.
Well, it's a 44-lap race, so our 1-stoppers will be coming in around about 22, there or thereabouts. So the 1-stoppers maybe anywhere between 10 and 14, I'd say. So I think you're fairly spot on with your prediction of lap 12. As we look at Oliver Turvey getting slightly out of shape there, as he runs ahead of his Real teammate Mike Conway. Conway's usually the one who's ahead out of those two, but on this occasion, Oliver Turvey, the one who's leading the way within the Real camp, headed up by Ed Hunter this season, who I think is very much looking forward to Season 3 now. He's had an absolutely awful season, and he's not really hidden his disappointments, has he, Tom? He really wants to get that car working well for Season 3.
Yeah, and it's been a season to forget for the Real squad, and I think Ed Hunter will be looking at his options for next year, and we look to see Will Power as he tries to get back through on Alex Lynn.
So, fights going on at the front here as Will Power trying to get down here inside of Alex Lynn, but Lynn does a great job and holds on around the outside of what I think is turn 2 there. A great job there by the Englishman driving HRT, a race winner this season at the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. And we can see there that Power's now also starting to come under attack from Adrian Sutil here, who has actually gone down the inside. So Power going backwards in this race. He got into lead off the line earlier on, but it's now down into 4th. And Tom, I'm thinking fuel strategies here. Is Power possibly on a heavier fuel load?
It could well be, but we'll soon find out. I think give it another 5-6 laps, Topher, and we'll see a more distinct idea as to who is making that 2-stop work and who's making the 1-stop.
Well, we will find out within about 10 laps time, I should imagine, for the two-stop strategies, as Helio Castroneves 1.7 seconds out in the lead of this race already, possibly on a 2-stop strategy himself, and building up that advantage to give himself the best run of it when it comes to the pit stops. Alex Lynn in 2nd, Sutil in 3rd, Will Power 4th, head of the life duo of Antonio Fuoco and Marino Sato. Jose Maria Lopez, 6 podiums this season, on for another points finish at the moment. Alan McNish in 8th, Scott Speed in 9th, and Marcus Finkelhock in 10th. As we look here, Tom, looks like Will Power's lining up to get back past Adrian Sutil again, getting down the inside out to the slipstream. Can the Australian get the move done down here into turn 1? It looks like he has got the job done, so these two having a right ding-dong battle at the moment. Power conceding 3rd place earlier on and now getting it back again. This could be a battle, Tom, that will last the entire race.
I can imagine so too, and Will Power crucially getting back ahead of Sutil. This is important for the championship. I mean, HRT is still quite some way behind in terms of challenging Lanehouse for the League 2 title, but promotion obviously very, very crucial in their battle against Eurobrun, the Roos, and of course, Life.
So it's just flashed up on the chat here, Tom. The incident involving Marino Sato and Will Stevens is under investigation. So the stewards confirming that they are looking at it, and we might get some sort of penalty. I think, given the nature of the incident, Tom, if it's going to be anything, I think it'll just be a back of the grid penalty for the next race in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, I mean, that does not warrant a race ban, and there's definitely no warrant of a race ban for it. But if a back of the grid penalty is, the sensible thing for Sato, then so be it. But I put that down as a racing incident personally.
We'll see what the stewards come up with for that one. Any penalties, of course, are appealable. The team principles. Let's say that there is a back of the grid penalty for Marino Sato. Andrew Sampson can turn around and say, well, hang on, here's a reason why it shouldn't be a back of the grid penalty. So there'll be plenty of drama in the stewards' room, I should imagine. And don't forget, it will be crucial for Andrew Sampson, because his team is fighting for promotion and for the title. They won't want to have any setbacks at all if they can help it. And we're riding on board at the moment with Jose Maria Lopez, who, unsighted on the cameras actually, has lost position to Alan McNish, a swap of position between 7th and 8th there. As we look at Sergio Sette Camera down the inside of one of the Zach speeds there, I think that is Sam Bird that he's trying to get past. He's not able to do so going into the final corner there. Riding on board with Sette Camera now as he's under attack from Mike Conway and Oliver Turby, I think we can see there behind as well. Real, is he got the legs? Yes, it looks like he has. Sergio Sette Camera going backwards in this race. The Brazilian starting this race in 19th position, now running in 20th, not really making any progress in this race at the moment. He's now under attack from Oliver Turby as well. Sette Camera, does he have a problem of some sort maybe? Because he is going backwards. He's just been overtaken by both Reals and is now under attack from Jake Dennis in the Andrea Moda as well. So maybe a problem developing there in the Pacific, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Hartley being overtaken there by, was it Christian Lungo's just been overtaken, or were we looking at Sette Camera? I was lost track a little bit there. I was concentrating on the other battles that were going on. But there's Castroneves, the 2.5 second lead over Will Power in 2nd place, with Adrian Sutil not far behind. And Marino Sato in 5th, with an investigation hanging over him.
So Sato and Fuoco have swapped positions. Fuoco was in 5th place earlier on, and now Marino Sato up into 5th as well. Both of those drivers still in contention for the championship, and I don't think there will be any team orders between those two. Andrew Sampson letting his drivers race this season, and they will be fighting all the way to season's ends. Will Power we're riding on board with at the moment. He's looking at the back of Alex Lynn II. As we look at a possible double overtake here, Scott Speed down the inside of Alan McNish, and Rossi trying to get past Marcus Winkelhock there, not able to get the move done on the German in the Eurobrun there. Can he maybe get the move done out of the exits of the final corner and down into turn 1? We now cut to Alex Lynn coming out to the first corner here, riding in second, 2.5 seconds off the back of Helio Castroneves. Castroneves making the power of that Leighton House Judd engine work very well at the moment. Now Jamie Green trying to get past Real of Oliver Turvey there. Jamie Green given another chance with the Zaxby team after he scored points last time out, and side by side with Turvey there. We've cut away at just the wrong moments. We don't know who came out on top of that one, but Jamie Green and Oliver Turvey giving each other fair racing room as they ran side by side through turn 1. Brilliant racing there wherever you look in this field at the moment. And we just saw there behind Alex Lynn, the battle there between Power and Suttle still raging on. Hardly anything to separate those two, Tom.
It's very hard to separate, yeah, and this battle for the lead's going to go on, isn't it? So it's HRT leading Leighton House, leading HRT leading Leighton House, and there's 2 lives in 5th and 6th.
I think we're seeing quite a bit more of the back markers at the moment than we used to, Tom, and I'd say rightfully so at the moment because there's so many battles going on throughout this field. We had battles going on with Sergio Sette Camera falling down through the order, and I'm not sure where he is at the moment actually. He's not showing up as in the top 15. So maybe he's dropped down even further and maybe having some sort of problem with falling upon that specific driver. Callum Ilott up into 15th place already, Tom. We're on lap 6 out of this Grand Prix. And Callum Ilott, he started last on the grid and up in 15th place. We haven't seen anything of him yet up until this point, but what a drive so far, as Adrian Suttle not quite having the legs on willpower there to get down the inside. But Tom, what about Callum Ilott's drive at the moment?
It's been an absolutely brilliant performance from him so far. I've just seen Scott Speed overtake Alan McNish as well. So whilst one Brit is moving up the order...
Oh, Callum Ilott's out! We were just talking him up and saying what a brilliant race he's having at the moment. And what has he done here? Oh, he's pushed too hard. He's into the barrier. These gravel traps in the Grand Prix World Series are very unforgiving. Callum Ilott making a drive error there. Possibly pushing too hard to get up through the field. And he is our second retirement of the race.
This is such a shame there for Callum Ilott, and that probably rules LaRousse out of contention of promotion, because Alex Ross is in 11th place, and all Leighton House need to do really is just outscore both Eurobron and LaRousse. I mean, as it stands, they are on course to seal it here today. I'm just looking to see where, in terms of HRT's situation with LaRousse and Eurobron, as you could just see, Rossi losing another position so far, so this is going from bad to worse for Will Knight's team.
Will Knight had big hopes ahead of this season. He took a 1-2 finish in the season opening Taupo Grand Prix. As Jamie Green is off as well in the Zaxby. He's taken a trip across gravel and he is out of this race. The front left falling off the Zaxby there. That is a shame for Jamie Green. This circuit seems to be catching drivers out already as they're finding the limits of what they can do around here. Jamie Green are just going in a bit too deep, Tom. He's gone for a trip across the gravel trap, and there goes the wheel. Jamie Green, his 3rd race in the Grand Prix World Series, and he is out.
Yeah, it seems to be a bad day for the Brits so far, isn't it? We've lost Jamie Green, we've lost Callum Ilott, and we've lost Will Stevens.
Well, 3 retirements out of this race so far, all from accidents. We haven't had any reliability issues so far. I say that hesitantly. It's going back to what I was about to say about the LaRousse team. Will Knight had very high hopes for this season, given that his team took a 1-2 finish in Taupo to start off the season. They seem to be the benchmark at that point. But since then, struggling. They took another win in the hands of Alexander Rossi later on in the season. I think it was at Young-Gam, if I remember correctly. But then points have been a little bit harder to come by for the French team, and Will Knight now facing another season within Season 2. Within League 2, sorry.
Yeah, it's been a really difficult second half of the season for him, hasn't it? We've spoken about it so much for him, and you have to feel for him, because they definitely had the pace in the first half of the season, but they've just fallen away, haven't they?
Well, that is the power of the development race that goes on throughout the season. The team principals can upgrade their cars. They put in more power or more reliability. And of course, power gets you to the front of the order, but that will be at the sacrifice of reliability, and you might not finish the race. It's such a fine balance to find, Tom. Some team principals finding it better than others. As Jake Dennis already getting racy as he passes his countryman Oliver Turvey there. We're not sure exactly what position that is for. It's not within the top 15, but Jake Dennis trying to make an impression on his debut here.
Very much so. He's doing a fine job so far, is Jake Dennis. How far up the order can he go? Jerome D'Ambrosio, his teammate, is running in 15th, so he's 3 positions behind him at this early stage. You can just see Helio Castroneves continuing to extend the gap. That is now 3.2 seconds. Alex Lynn and Adrian Suttle in the HRTs running second and third. And in regards to the Drivers' Championship, I think Adrian Suttle will still be leading at the end of this one.
I've just had a message here actually from Will Knight, the team principal of the LaRousse team, calling me something that I'm not willing to repeat on broadcast, as Adrian Suttle concedes third place to Will Power. Their battle continues on, still swapping positions. But Will Knight sort of believing that I put the commentator's curse onto Callum Eilert there, talking up about how well he was doing, getting up to P15 at that point, and he's now out of this race. So yeah, I'm not accepting any responsibility, Will. You should have put more reliability into the car. Simple as that. Meanwhile, Jake Dennis and Oliver Turvey continuing to battle, these two rivals within the world of Formula E in real life. Jake Dennis, now a two-time race winner, having picked up a win in London this weekend just gone, now making his debut in the Grand Prix World Series and coming under attack from Oliver Turvey, and we cut away to Scott Speed battling with Alan McNish, and it looks like McNish has got back down. No, I'm getting confused over all my drivers at the moment. There's so much action going on. Scott Speed back into 8th place again. Those two swapping positions as the live cars now swap places as well. Fuoco back up into 5th place ahead of Marino Sato. So these two running nose to tail as well, having their own little battle going on at the moment. They're about 4 seconds behind Will Power and Adrian Suttle at the moment, and 2 ahead of Jose Maria Lopez, so out on their own at the moment. Here is your race leader, Ilio Castroneves, 3.4 seconds in the green over Alex Lynn running in second. Will Power's in third ahead of Adrian Suttle. Then we've got the 2 live cars of Fuoco and Sato running together. Lopez and then McNish just passing Speed for 8th place, and then Lundgaard making it 2 Scuderia Colognis in the top 10 as it stands. Now Cologni, they dropped out of contention for promotion into League One after the last race. So Gemma Dixon hoping to end the season on a high as she considers what drivers she wants to continue into Season 3 with.
So Alex Lynn doing a fine job once again in the HRT. I mean, we saw Dario Franchitti in the car earlier this season, Topher. You know, we felt it was rather a bit harsh on him to lose that seat, but it's paying dividends with Alex Lynn doing a really great job so far. Hence, which is contributed by his victory in Magny-Cours a few rounds ago.
He's doing an absolutely fantastic job, is Alex Lynn, within that HRT. And I agree with you, Tom, actually. I thought it was a little bit of a bad call for John Monroe to replace Dario Franchitti at the point in the season which he did, at a moment when Franchitti was starting to come good, as Sato back down the inside of Fuoco again. And they're running side by side, actually. Fuoco not letting that position go. Great racing between those two. They do need to be careful, though, because Jose Maria Lopez is bearing down on the back of them. And if these two keep fighting, it might lose them more time and put them into the clutches of the Euro run. So maybe these two need to calm down a bit more, make sure they get to the end. They are fighting for promotion and for the title this season. Sam Bird down the inside of Brendan Harley there. Sam Bird, a really disappointing season for the Englishman so far. He had high hopes of the Zach Speed team. They did really well in the pre-season festival back at Watkins Glen, if our viewers remember that race. Sam Bird finishing second in that race and thinking maybe he'd be in for a good season, pick up a few wins. But Sam Bird, it just hasn't been a good season at all. It's not necessarily because of him, Tom. I think it's more been down to the car. He did finish second at the Sepang Grand Prix earlier on in the season, but since then has only picked up 1 more point. I mean, what can you say about Sam Bird and his season, Tom?
It's been a season to forget. I mean, just completely hampered with problems and Zach Speed car not getting to the end of races. Just looking at his record this season for Sam Bird, because he's only finished in the points twice, as far as I know. The last one was in round 5 and round 14 in the championship. So Sam Bird in the last 8 races before Brno has failed to score a point.
It's a real shame for Sam Bird. He's got a lot of talent, just hasn't got the car at his disposal. Mike Smith will be continuing in C3. And is it Alex Lynn going slow? Yes, it is. He's got a puncture. But Alex Lynn running really well in second place here, and he now pulls over to the side of the circuit as we have a battle with his teammates and Will Power there. But Alex Lynn out of this race. His teammate Suttle, championship leader, now trying to get past Will Power and bring home as many points for HRT as possible. He does indeed go through into second place, but Alex Lynn, what a fine drive it was from him so far in this race, Tom, and it's all come to naught.
That's a big blow for HRT's promotion hopes. It's good news for Eurobron and LaRousse, with one of the HRTs out. They would have to say that Lane House are going to get promoted, it's just a matter of when. So the fight for remaining 2 promotion spots are very much on now.
As it stands at the moment, Leighton House will be promoted up into League 1 for Season 3, but we still have a long way to go. We are only a quarter of the way through the League 2 Brno Grand Prix, and news dropping in here, Tom. Marino Sato will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grid. Oh, we've got an issue here. What's going on here? But Brendan Hartley has come together with Sam Bird, so that's his second Zaxby that finds himself in the barrier. Can Bird get out of there? But Brendan Hartley out of this race. And what's going on here, Tom?
He's outbraked himself and he's just taken the sack speed with him into the barrier. Yeah, that's technically clumsy from Brendan Hartley there. The sack speed was just a passenger at that point. Completely Brendan Hartley's fault on that occasion.
And Sam Bird is trying to get himself out of the gravel trap. We're going to get another replay here on board with Sam Bird. Not really looking too much in his mirrors at the moment. Maybe not expecting Brendan Hartley to make the move, but there is Hartley. And a little bit airborne between those two. But Brendan Hartley into barrier and out of this race. Can Sam Bird get himself out of the gravel trap? He'll be trying with all his might to get out of there. And it looks like he might just about do the job, will he? Oh, he's getting it beach. Come on, Sam. Get it out of the gravel and bring home some points for sack speed if you can. You know that you need it. And there we go, Sam Bird on his way, and I think probably quite livid with that one, Tom.
Yeah, he will be livid with that, and so will Mike Smith, the team boss of the Zaxby squad. He'll be going to the stewards post up because that was a pretty clumsy manoeuvre from the Pacific of Hartley. As Scott Speed pits.
Scott Speed, the first of our regular pit stops. Lap 12 he is coming, just at the end of lap 11, so Scott Speed out on a 2-stop strategy here. Getting some more bits of news coming in here, Tom. I was just about to mention before the Hartley-Bird incident. Marino Sato will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grid, and of course that is appealable by Andrew Sampson. They can discuss that with the stewards post-race, but as it stands, Sato, one of our championship contenders, Tom, he will be starting in 26th and last next time out.
Yep, unless there's other drivers who will be taking a good job as well, because we've just seen Brendan Hartley cause that incident with Sam Bird, so he could be another one going to the back of the grid in Buenos Aires, unless the stewards decide that a more severe punishment is necessary.
And another piece of news that has just dropped into my inbox here, Tom. This comes fresh out of the LaRousse garage following Callum Ilot's retirement. Ilott will be benched for the next race, and Will Knight taking a decision to, as he puts it, send Callum Ilott back to school, and Max Chilton will make his Grand Prix World Series debut in his place. What's your thoughts on that one, Tom?
I think that's rather harsh from Will Knight, to be honest with you. I mean, we've only got 2 races left, and he's still got a mathematical chance of getting promotion. And besides, Callum Ilott's done a better job than Alexander Rossi this season, personally.
So maybe Will Knight feeling as though that Callum Ilott just needs a little bit of time out just to calm down. He was really running a little bit angry from having had his back of the grid penalty from the last race, which was for causing a collision in that race as well. Last time out in Estoril, and this time round going out of his own accord. So I think Will Knight's basically just saying to Callum Ilott, we'll need to calm you down for a race and then maybe bring you back in. But on the plus side of that, Tom, this is a chance for Will Knight to evaluate Max Chilton ahead of next season.
Yeah, I suppose, and they're probably going to end up in League 2 again next season, so that Will Knight needs to evaluate his options, but be careful what he wishes for, because Callum Ilott is no doubt a brilliant talent. We just see a battle of the Fonmatels between Gutierrez and Mazzacane, and Gutierrez gets on the inside of the Argentinian.
And yet another message in from race control here, Tom. The incident between Brendan Hartley and Sam Bird is under investigation. Now, we were talking about Sam Bird, how he hasn't had any points finishes. When was it? Since India, was it? I think it's since Fuji.
Lundgaard, sorry to interrupt you, Topher, Lundgaard's got a puncture. He's only just pitted as well.
So Christian Lundgaard into the pits and out again and into retirement by the looks of it. He was running in the points earlier on as high as 10th place, but is now pulling over to the side of the circuit with a puncture. That is a shame for the Coloni team. Gemma Dixon getting a little bit annoyed with all the retirements her cars have had recently. Well, there's another one for the long list she has had already. As Idio Cashineves is into the pits from the lead, so he was on a lighter fuel load compared to Adrian Suttel and everyone else around him.
So Cashineves has just put less fuel in the car in his than Will Power did on the previous lap. So he's going for a 2-slot strategy, we know that, because he hasn't got enough fuel to go to the end. where does he come out in regards to Will Power? He's a long way ahead of him, actually, isn't he?
Very long way in front, and he's out ahead of Alexander Rossi and Marcus Winkelhock, so that is good for Castroneves. He's got himself some clear air to work with and get those tyres up to temperature. Another piece of news has just dropped in, Tom. I'm getting quite a few coming in a moment. This one is from Mike Smith of the Zaxby team. He's saying that Lucas Di Grassi will be back in the car for the next race in place of Jamie Green. So Jamie Green, he's had 3 outings in the Grand Prix World Series. He's picked up 2 points out of those races. But next time out, it will be Lucas Di Grassi back in the car alongside Sam Bird.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Di Grassi would know what he can do. So I think for Lucas Di Grassi to be back in the seat is definitely right. But do not be surprised if Jamie Green can get into the car for season 3, whether it be in Zaxby or somewhere else.
I want to put a question to you here, Tom, regarding Sam Bird, who we were just talking about recently. Would you say that he's possibly the unluckiest driver this season? Because he's had quite a lot of retirements, but don't forget, a lot of those have been through no fault of his own. He's been coming together in instance with other drivers, just effectively being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, he's definitely been one of the most unlucky. I mean, I'd love to see how he does maybe in another car, like in a LaRousse or in a Eurobron or something like that. That way I think he can do more of a stellar job in that, as Adrian Sutil picks in, as does what looks like, is that Froco who's coming in, or is that Sarto? Sarto's coming in, so Lopez and Sarto coming in, as well as Sutil. Now where will Sutil come back out? He's a long way behind Castroneves, so I wonder if he got held up though in the pit stop. He probably didn't, but that won't help his cause when it comes to fighting with Will Power, who's gone ahead of him now.
And yet another message that is coming in. They are flying into my inbox at the moment. There is so much going on in this race. We just had Jack Aitken into the pit. And speaking of Jack Aitken, this is a communication from Ed Spencer, the team principal of the Force India squad. He's saying that Sirotkin must not pass Aitken. This is for survival. So Ed Spencer basically saying his drivers are not to race each other. And they're not in the fight for promotion at the moment. They will be staying in League 2 in next season. So I think more than anything, that's just to ensure that both drivers get to the end of the race.
Yeah, that's fair from Ed. I mean, given what we've seen so far in this one, I think we've lost 6 drivers in this one. Most of them are English speakers as well, including Brendan Hartley.
Yes, we've had 4 Brits retiring from this race in the form of Will Stevens, Callum Ilott, Jamie Green and Alex Lynn, and then Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi driver, of course English speaking as well. Our 5th retirement of the race, having come together with Sam Bird earlier on. That investigation is still ongoing. Antonio Fuoco in the lead of this race, but yet to pit. Is he maybe employing a one-stop strategy again, Tom?
Fuoco?
Yes.
Or Mitnish?
Fuoco.
Fuoco, it's possible, but no.
Well, that answers my question right there. So Fuoco, he did make a one-stop strategy work earlier on in the season as he took victory in Fuji. A quite brilliant win actually that was from Fuoco, nailing the strategy and getting the power down just when he needed to. But here today, he's now into the pits alongside Alan McNish. It looks like all of the front runners, Tom, are on 2-stop strategies.
7.6 seconds stop. It's a good stop that from the live crew. Where will Fuoco get back out here? He'll want to get out in front of D'Ambrosio, I should think, but no, he's behind him.
So Jerome D'Ambrosio up into 5th place at the moment. He has not yet come into the pits. Is maybe the Belgian trying a one-stop strategy here? He runs 5th at the moment, up within the points. Of course, when he does come into pits, he will drop back down in the order again. But D'Ambrosio putting in a fine weekend at the moment. He qualified in P14 for this race, which I believe is Andrea Moda's best qualifying of the season. D'Ambrosio getting some good speed out of that car, but now trying possibly an alternate strategy to get up into the points here, but he has Antonio Fuoco and Jose Maria Lopez right behind him, putting the pressure on. This is not going to do Fuoco or Lopez any favours at all. Clearly with the speed advantage over Andrea Moda, but getting stuck behind. And don't forget, D'Ambrosio is not obliged to get out of the way. This is for position. Lopez having a look at Antonio Fuoco there, but thinking better of it. And D'Ambrosio driving defensively at the moment. He does not want to give this up. He wants to try and get a good result out of this as they run through turn 9, back down straight towards turn 10. And Fuoco getting out of the slipstream and down the inside there of the Andrea Moda. He dispatches D'Ambrosio. When is Lopez going to get the job done? He might take a little bit longer to get past, which Fuoco will be laughing at.
So we're just looking at Scott Speed, who outbreaks himself, runs into the grass. Oh,
He's
no,
holding it,
Scott.
he's held it. Lovely hold there from Scott Speed. Got deep into turn 10 there, but managed to hold on to that modern, and he continues in 10th position. He lost the position to Alan McNish through doing that, but well held that, man. A lot of other drivers colliding with the barrier through lockups like that, but he's held on to it and continues in the points. But now with Alexander Rossi for company in 11th place, our race winner back in Yong Gam will be putting pressure on his fellow American for the final points playing position. Ilya Castroneves 9.8 seconds in the lead, Tom, absolutely dominating at the moment.
He's absolutely flying away out in front, is Castroneves. This is a very convincing performance from the Leighton House team, with Power in second place ahead of Suttil after that first round of stops. Castroneves just has it all under control as Alexander Rossi gets down the inside of Scott Speed for 10th place, and he's through. So that's a move there from the American. Can he salvage something from this race for the LaRousse team in what's been a very dreadful day so far for them?
So 10.1 seconds now the gap between Castroneves and Power. Leighton House running first and second, and if it stays that way, they will be promoted up into League One for Season 3. Mike Conway down the inside of Sam Bird there. So Bird was running in 13th place, having had his off earlier in the coming together of Brendan Hartley. And actually, Tom, it's just flashed up on the screen here. Brendan Hartley will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grid. I think there's less argument against that one than there was with Marino Sato, Tom.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Hartley, he knew he was going to have the book thrown at him for that, and he will be apologetic to Sam Bird afterwards for the collision, but at least Sam Bird is still in the race. Otherwise, there have been some questions afterwards. Regards to, well, most certainly from Mike Smith, the team boss of the Sac Speed squad. As we look at the Leighton House of Will Power fending off the HRT of Adrian Suttil, and this is a chance to look to see how quick they've been in the last lap. Castroneves 9 tenths faster than Will Power.
And Adrian Suttil, crucially, faster than Will Power by 7 tenths of a second. So Suttil closing back in on his Leighton House rival there. Both of these drivers very much in contention for this championship. And both of them, I think, have led the championship at one point or another within the season. Adrian Suttil is our championship leader. He took the championship lead back from Will Power at the last race at Estoril. Suttil winning that race while Will Power scored a grand total of 0 points, having retired early on in that particular event. Sergio Sette camera here under attack from Jack Aiken, and he concedes 13th position to the Force India. Ed Spencer getting in touch earlier on, saying that his drivers weren't to race each other. Well, at the moment, not even together on track, and Jack Aiken up into P13. Could he maybe snatch some points out of this race? There's not that much distance between himself and Rossi in 10th place, actually. So this is still all to play for, Tom, as we look at Sam Bird, who's now down into 15th. Not getting any speed out of the Zach Speed at the moment, and maybe nursing a little bit of damage from earlier on, Tom.
Essentially, so Alan McNish has been very quick on the last lap as well. I know he may have been one of the last ones to come in, but he's right over the back of Jerome D'Ambrosio's Andre Moda, and he goes through easily. So McNish so far having a good race.
McNish having a very good race, but he needs to finish them. McNish has been one of those drivers where he's always had the speed, but just not the reliability. I've got his finishes up here. He finished third at the opening race in Taupo, got himself a podium to kick off the season, and since then he's only finished in the points a further 3 times. He had a 10th place in Yongam, a 6th place in Fuji, and a 4th place in Hockenheim. He's had a lot of retirements. It's been such an unlucky season for the Scotsman. The speed evidently has been there, Tom. We can't argue against that at all. Just not the reliability in the Coloni.
So Suttil behind Will Power, as we see on screen. Winkelhock, I don't think Winkelhock's stopped in this race yet, has he?
I don't think he has, no. He's running in 4th place at the moment, and earlier on before the pit stops he was around about 9th or 10th position, around about where D'Ambrosio and Rossi are at the moment. So Winkelhock might be utilising the one-stop strategy here. We're now on lap 19 out of 44. We're getting towards a halfway mark, so Winkelhock looks like he is on a one-stop strategy. As Sam Bird down the inside of Sergio Sette camera, and he takes 14th place back. So maybe not any damage on the Zach Speed then, as he's starting to get a little bit more racy here and try and get himself up into points playing positions. Now looking at Marcus Winkelhock and Jerome D'Ambrosio, the 2 drivers within the top 10 who appear to be on one-stop strategies. When Winkelhock comes in, I imagine he'll come out around about where Scott Speed and Jack Aiken are, about 30 seconds behind. As for Lopez, well, he'll drop down out to the top 15, I'm sure, but with a one-stop strategy and less time in the pit lane, that could maybe pay dividends later on in the race.
So the gap that Castroneves has over his teammate Will Power is coming up to 12 seconds now. very good for Cairns' race. You can see Matsukhan down in 20th and last place. 6 drivers have dropped out of this one. They are Christian Lundgaard, Brendan Hartley, Alex Lynn, Jamie Green, Will Stevens, and the other Brit that's dropped out of it. I can't remember which one it was.
Will Stevens was the first of our retirements in this race, having been punted up the back by Marino Sato, who will start the next race from the back of the grid as a result. And a little bit of a moment there on the video, but we're back to it now as Will Power under attack from Adrian Suttel. A German has caught up to the back of the Australian again. It's going down the inside. Adrian Suttel into second position, and that might well end up being crucial as far as the championship is concerned. Adrian Suttel, our championship leader, passing his nearest rival in the standings as it stood going into this race. 9 points between those two. So Suttel now on course to score 18 points with Will Power on 15, so that will extend the gap between those two to 12 with 2 rounds to go. Idio Castroneves on course for 25 points at the moment, and in the one for his pole position has 26 points, which will put him up onto 116 points, having started on 90 going into this event. It's getting so close, Tom. It's really that competitive with only 2 rounds left to go after this race is finished.
Yeah, we've just seen that Sandberg came into the pits. He'll rejoin at the back of the field, but at least he can start overtaking some drivers to salvage some pride for his future within the Grand Prix World Series. Castroneves out in front still, extending the gap 12.6 seconds, so I think it's taken something like half a second now of Suttel on the last lap alone. And just looking to see other battles going on. Jerome D'Ambrosio in 9th place still. He's most certainly on the one-stop strategy now, I can imagine, as Winkelhock pits.
So Winkelhock, we believe, is on a one-stop strategy. He comes in at the end of lap 20, so going on to lap 44 at the end, that looks like it will be a one-stop strategy. Unless he goes for maybe a shorter middle stint. We haven't seen what fuel load he's putting in at the moment, but he's dropping down the order. Where is he going to re-emerge? I predicted it would be around about Scott Speed and Jack Aiken. It's actually further than that. Winkelhock coming out in 13th position behind Mike Conway, so that's around about 32-33 seconds for a pit stop here. A little bit of a longer pit lane than we've seen in some of the other races in the Grand Prix World Series. Winkelhock down from 4th to 13th, ahead of Sergio Sette Camara. Winkelhock now on fresher tyres, he can make a few overtakes from there.
I mean, I'm just working it out, Topher, in terms of the gap that you need for a pit stop. I think it's actually less than what you've just said there. I think maybe something like 27 or 28 sequence. So it's less than half the minute that you need for a pit stop, and the amount of time you can gain over the course of a single lap is quite huge.
Well,
there's quite a few corners, like slow speed corners, if you know what I mean.
Well, by that math, it looks like D'Ambrosio will indeed drop out of the top 15 when he comes in for his pit stop. Jake Dennis is moving up into 15th position there, as you can see on the graphic. He started his debut race. Don't forget, he was brought in place of Valentino Rossi for this race on the Andrea Moda team, as the other Andrea Moda concedes position to Alexander Rossi for P8. D'Ambrosio, his tyres must be absolutely screaming at the moment. He'll need to get into this, possibly at the end of this lap, or if not this lap, maybe the next lap. Jake Dennis on his debut, qualifying P22 in the Andrea Moda, while Jerome D'Ambrosio qualifying P14 for Andrea Moda's best of the season so far. And Dennis racing well at the moment, but he's about 9 seconds off the back of Sette Camara. What dent can he make in that gap to the Brazilian ahead of him? Meanwhile, here is another Brazilian doing very well in this race. Idio Castroneves, 13.2 in the lead. D'Ambrosio now into the pits. He will drop out to the top 15 through this pit stop, but will be going to the end of the race. Castroneves 13.3 ahead of Adrian Suttel. Will Powers in third ahead of Antonio Fuoco, and Lopez running in 5th at the moment. He split the 2 live cars, Sato down into 6th. McNish running well in 7th. There's Oliver Turvey fighting with his countryman Jake Dennis here, going down into turn 1, and can he get the move done? No! Jake Dennis holds on around the outside. Brilliant defensive driving there from our debutante today. Double Bubble Disco Queen, also known as Gemma Dixon, getting in touch via the YouTube live chat, asking, where is Christian Lundgaard? I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Gemma, he's out with a puncture. He's our 6th retirement of the race, along with Will Stevens, Callum Ilotz, Jamie Green, Alex Lynn, Brendan Hartley, and our most recent retirement, Christian Lundgaard. But don't worry, Gemma, you still have Alan McNish running in 7th at the moment. Points are still very possible. We're now halfway through this race time.
It's been a brilliant one so far. It was, let's see, where the live cars end up. I mean, Franco is in 4th place, Sato in 6th. Sato is currently a couple of seconds off Lopez in front. Lopez doing another fine drive in the Eurobahn today. And Alan Manish in 7th place, who's closing in on Marino Sato as well. We just look to see what Manish's pace is like in comparison to Sato, so we can actually have a look once they go through the next time being. It was 2.4 seconds when they last went through. It's now 2.
Sorry, Tom. Sorry to cut across you there. Oliver Turvey having another go at Jake Dennis here for what is now P14. And Dennis once again closing the door, but getting very close to taking off the front wing of Oliver Turvey. I thought there might well have been contact between those two. I don't think you could have fit a cigarette paper between those two. It was so close between the two drivers there.
Yeah, I mean, it nearly ended up being a collision there, but I just look to see what Will Power can do from here in terms of trying to get past Adrian Sutton in front. Just seems that Sergio Sette cameras come into the pits for what looks like his only stop of the race. He'll go to the back of the field.
And Marcus Winkelhock there getting past Mike Conway for P11. Winkelhock on the fresher tyres, having utilised the one-stop strategy in this race. He's made his way up a few positions already and is now closing down on Jack Aiken. 2.5 seconds between those two for the final points paying position. Cashineva's 3.8, another half a second on Adrian Sittel on the last lap alone, and he is absolutely dominating this race at the moment. We still have halfway to go. A lot can happen in this race. Cashineva's, just because he's comfortable now doesn't mean he will be comfortable later. 22 laps left to run here in Brno in the League 2 race. And D'Ambrosio there in 15th position, you can see on the graphic, also on the one-stop strategy, as well as Marcus Winkelhock. 2.3 behind Oliver Turvey at the moment, so maybe he will join in that battle for P13 between Turvey and Dennis in the next few laps. We'll keep an eye on that gap at the moment. There is Adrian Sittel running in 2nd place. He got past Will Power and has now dropped the Australian. He's chasing after Ilya Cashineves. What sort of dent can he make into that gap? Well, not a lot at the moment. He's dropped half a second in that last lap alone, so Sittel maybe having to settle for 2nd place here. But with a championship on the line, Tom, he wants to pick up every point possible.
Absolutely. You've just seen that Jack Aiken's moved into the top 10 now for Force India. Jack Aiken doing another stellar job in that car that's struggled so much this season. I think Force India, I have to say, Topher, have been one of the big disappointments.
Well, they started off the season rather on the back foot. They didn't have the best drivers available to them. They had Alex Zanardi and Alonso Jr. to start, as Oliver Turvey once again trying to get down the inside Jake Dennis. And a little bit of move there from Jake Dennis, a little bit of a twitch into the braking zone, but he holds on to 13th place as Sam Bird now down the inside of Gaston Mazzacani into turn 1, and he will get the move done on the Fon Metal there. So a lot going on in this race, Tom. It's been action wherever you looked. It's been fascinating to watch. We've got Helio Cashineves here dominating out in front now, 14 seconds over Adrian Sittel. We had a great ding-dong battle earlier on between Sittel and Power, so they constantly swap positions as Turvey is now down the inside of Jake Dennis and makes the move stick. But as I predicted, Tom, joining that battle now, Jerome D'Ambrosio, and I wonder if Jake Dennis is going to concede position straight away to his teammates on the alternate strategy.
I think he's going to have to, because D'Ambrosio is much faster of the two.
So we're riding on board with Jake Dennis at the moment, so you can just about see Jerome D'Ambrosio behind the Englishman. I wonder if the swap is going to come down into turn 10 where they're approaching now. D'Ambrosio gets out to slipstream. It looks like he's going to get the move done on his teammate. He does indeed. Jerome D'Ambrosio up into P14 and will now chase after Oliver Turvey for 13th place. A great battle going on here between the Real and the Andrea Modas. I keep saying it, Tom, it's action wherever you look. There's so many overtakes going on. We had a battle with Adrian Sittel and Will Power earlier on, the two life cars, also constantly swapping positions before Jose Maria Lopez got in the middle of them. McNish has been up and down the order a few times. Rossi's worked his way up into 8th. Scott Speed also working his way up into 9th. And Jack Aiken now into the top 10. But with Marcus Winkelhock closing down on him, less than 2 seconds between those two now.
So Jerome D'Ambrosio's only points finish has been in Birmingham since he replaced Vincenzo Sospiri and Andrea Moda. He's aiming for his 2nd points position today. He's having a good race so far, so if he can get past Turvey as soon as he can start thinking about going after those who originally be doing the 2 stops.
Well, with Jerome D'Ambrosio's 8th place finish at the Birmingham Super Prix, that is his only finish of the season so far. All the other races he's taken part in, he has retired from for a plethora of reasons. So technically in some ways, Jerome D'Ambrosio does have a 100% points finishing record. So we'll see whether he can add to that in this race. Running in P14 at the moment on the alternate strategy. We're on lap 26 out of 44. We're well past halfway in the League 2 Brno Grand Prix now. Hideo Castroneves 14.5 seconds ahead of Sutil. Will Power in third place. Now 3.1 seconds behind Sutil as Lopez is into pits for what should be a second pit stop. And there goes Jerome D'Ambrosio trying to get the move done on Oliver Turvey. Having to back out of it there through turn 10. Now on the run up to turn 11. What can he do in the final sector of the stand to get up to the back of Mike Conway? We cut to Adrian Sutil. We'll keep an eye on the graphics to see if D'Ambrosio can make a move on Turvey. Sorry, it's not Conway, it is Oliver Turvey he's fighting with. Lopez has re-emerged from his pit stop in P12. And D'Ambrosio down the inside now of Oliver Turvey. And Turvey holding on around the outside. Great driving there from both involved. Turvey finding the grip around the outside. But surely now into turn 1, Tom, D'Ambrosio is going to make this move stick.
Yeah, he needs to do it now here, does D'Ambrosio, if he's to salvage any points here today, and he's done it easily there, so no problem there for D'Ambrosio. Now he can go after those who are doing the 2 stops. I mean, Jose Maria Lopez has just come into the pits. He's now behind Mike Conway, so this is a chance for D'Ambrosio to start closing in a little bit now on these guys, as Aiken slows to a halt.
It is another Brit who is retiring from this race, and it's a loose wheel, the front left there. You can see wobbling around on that Forcidia. That's effectively like driving a wheel that's made of 50 pence pieces. It's not completely round, it's horrible to drive. And he nudges the back of Christian Lundgaard's stricken car there. Jack Aitken, I think that's 7th retirement in this race, Tom. Is it? Yes, it's our 7th retirement. Will Stevens, Callum Eilert, Jamie Green, Alex Lynn, Brendan Hartley, Christian Lundgaard, and now Jack Aitken. 6th of those 7 are Brits. Not a good day for any British fans watching this race, Tom.
So the highest Brit left in the race is Alan McNish in 6th place. The next Brit down, that would have to be Mike Conway, won't it, in 11th, Oliver Turvey 13th, Jake Dennis 14th. So we've still got a few Brits left in this one.
Sam Bird's still running as well in this race outside of the top 15. We've got a lot of Brits competing in this championship. As Sergio Sette Camara there in P19, trying to get past, that is a Fonmetal there, of Gaston Mazzacani there, he makes a move past for 18th position. There you can see on the graphic, Sam Bird is in 17th behind Sergei Sorokin. Adrian Sutil, the German, running in P2. Now about 15 seconds off the lead. He's got no answer of Castroneves at the moment.
No, definitely not. As you just see Adrian Sutil there, he's having a bit of a quiet run now. He's pulled away from Will Power since we've last spoken about these two. And he won't be able to trouble Castroneves unless something happens to Castroneves up front.
Well, Castroneves 15 seconds in the lead. And of course, reliability is a worry in the Grand Prix World Series. If you're new to the Grand Prix World Series and don't know how it works, basically our team principals, they own a team each, and throughout the season we have upgrade windows where the teams can use their prize money to upgrade either the power or the reliability of their car, or a mixture of both. Some team principals liking to go for a bit more power, some liking to go for a bit more reliability to ensure they finish, and typically, Tom, the ones who have more power on the car have put that power in at the expense of reliability, so while they have a fast car, they are not always guaranteed to make it to the end of the race.
That's absolutely true. You can see Sutil, the gap is 15 seconds, and the gap between Sutil and Power is nearly 4 seconds, sorry. And looking to see further down in terms of other battles that are going on, Speed, despite that little error he had in the race, he's still in the points actually, Scott Speed. No, we haven't seen too much of Scott Speed in terms of him being in the points this year. So far, from what we've seen from him, he's 20th in the standings, but his last points finish came in round 6 in Genai. Since then, he's not scored a point.
It's been a little bit of an anticlimactic season for Scott Speed. He was one of our title favourites going in, Tom. He was one of the better drivers when we were in the pre-season festival and in the non-championship Vancouver Grand Prix. He was always up there or thereabouts. And we thought Scott Speed might be in for a tremendous season. He finished 6th in Taupo to kick off the season. And since then, a 9th place finish. This is Mike Conway going slowly. It's another British retirement. It's a transmission issue this time for Conway. It's our 8th retirement from the League 2 Brno Grand Prix. Another one bites the dust here today, Tom.
Another one bites the dust, and that allows Jerome D'Ambrosio and Oliver Turvey to move up a position each, and Jake Dennis as well.
And Ilya Kashineves into the pits as Mike Conway retires out of the race. Kashineves on a two-stop strategy, and surely he will be going to the end of the race. With this final pit stop, Suttil goes through into the lead, but with not really any advantage to enjoy over Kashineves. The gap between those two was 15 seconds before Kashineves came in. Fuoco now into the pits as well, out of P4. Where is he going to rejoin? Probably around about Winkelhock, Lopez source of area. Fuoco was with Lopez earlier on in this race before the Eurobron came into the pits. Lopez, has he been able to make that tyre advantage work? We will see where Fuoco comes out. Alan McNish in as well in the Scuderia Coloni, on for a good haul of points here today, and he needs it for himself and for his team, with Christian Lundgaard out of this race. Scott Speed into pits as well as Alexander Rossi. They're all starting to come in for their second pit stops now. This is going to get interesting, Tom. This could be the moment that this race is decided.
So Fuoco's stop has got him out in front of Lopez and Winkelhock as well. So Winkelhock will need to play the team game here and let his teammate go through.
So a brilliant pit stop from the Life team to get Fuoco out of in front of the Eurobron duo, and he's now on fresher tyres and will want to get those up to temperature as soon as he can. Waiting for the graphics to update to see what the gap is. It's 3.2 seconds. So really good job there from the Life team actually. Fuoco getting a lot of speed out of that car and making sure he had the advantage over Winkelhock and Lopez, as Jake Dennis down the inside of Scott Speed as he knows. Scott Speed holds on around the outside and very nearly nose to bumper there between those two. Very nearly a bit of damage to the front of the Andrea motor there, but he stays out of it and carries on in 13th position. Dennis feeling very racy here today. This must be impressing Lewis Bastardale, surely.
Well, you say that. I mean, this is going to be quite a good one for Andrea Moda with the way their cars are performing. D'Ambrosio up into the points now in 10th place. And I don't think any of the top guns are going to be pitting, of which he'll do an undercut on. So D'Ambrosio is just going to have to fight for all he can to keep hold of that last championship point.
And Sato now into the pits out of P4. He was around about his teammate Antonio Fuoco before, a bit of gap fall between them, so I'm imagining that Sato will come out behind Fuoco now, but where is he going to be in relation to the Eurobruns? We're waiting for the graphic to say when Sato is out of the pits. There goes the Eurobruns past him, so Sato dropping behind, and there we see him coming out of the pits now. Is he going to be out ahead of McNish? That's going to be close. McNish carrying the speed through, is he? And very close to contact there.
Ooh, that was close.
That could have been an airplane accident between those two. Sato bailing out of it and coming out in 8th place. He will have a tyre advantage once his tyres are at the temperature, but Tom, that so easily could have ended in tears between those two.
Most certainly so, and Sato already has a penalty to his name for the next round. I think had he come together with McNish, I think he would have been given a race ban for it.
I think you're right there, Tom. Sato, I think, quite sensibly backing out of that one, and they both live to fight another day. McNish is now down to P8 because Sato has now made the move through. He cuts away to the back of Antonio Fuoco at just the wrong time there. Sato into P7 now and chasing after the Eurobrun duo of Lopez and Winkelhock running together on track at the moment. It's going to be a good day for Eurobrun here today as they chase promotion, and Adrian Suttil into the pits as well as Will Power. So coming into the pits at the same time, they're going to be on the same tyre strategy and the same fuel strategy, Tom. It's going to be a straight fight to the finish between those two.
So you just see there, Fuoco, just in your pictures, Suttil and Power come in for their second and final stops. I don't think Fuoco's going to have enough to get in front here, to be honest with you. Kashineves gets back into the lead of the race. Suttil and Power should rejoin in 2nd and 3rd places.
So Kashineves, there is your race leader on screen right now on lap 31 out of 44. Adrian Suttil in 2nd place ahead of Will Power, our 2 championship leaders. And Tony Fuoco and Marino Sato still fighting with Alan McNish here, and all having to get out of it around the apex, but holds on the outside line using the karting line effectively through turn 1 to hold on to 7th place. That could be a battle for the ages right through to the flag between Marino Sato and Alan McNish. Sato with a very real power advantage in the life car, but McNish, the more experienced driver, and he's using all of his experience. His advantage at the moment is Alan McNish. Can he out-duel Marino Sato for 7th place? We'll keep an eye on that one in the remaining 14 laps of this race. And D'Ambrosio running in P10 at the moment. It's been a great race for the Belgians so far. On course for another point to his name. He's got 4 to his name from his 8th place finish in Birmingham earlier this season. And you can see there Jake Dennis ahead of one of the Fonmetals. I think that's Gaston Mazzacane. And here is Sergei Sirotkin in the Force India. We haven't seen anything of Sirotkin so far in this race time. He's got 2 points finishes to his name in his first 5 races in the Grand Prix World Series. He picked up a 9th place finish in Magny-Cours and a 10th place finish last time out in Estoril. Not on course for any points in the moment, but do you think he's maybe doing enough to convince Ed Spencer to keep him on next season?
Just whether it depends on whether Ed has the car of which will provide him with that can go for promotion next year, and I think Sirotkin will be thinking exactly the same. And while she was saying that, Topher, Speed has just overtaken D'Ambrosio, and Sarto's got past Winkelhock.
So plenty of overtakes going on here. Sarto using his tyre advantage to get up to the back of the one-stopping Winkelhock here, who's now under pressure from Alan McNish as well. So Winkelhock just said he's on a one-stop strategy. He's now falling down the order as he's on the less fresh tyres compared to these two who have just made the move past him. Sarto into 6th and McNish into 7th, and Winkelhock behind them running P8 at the moment. Could still get some points out of this. There's 10 seconds between himself and Alexander Rossi down in 9th place. So Eurobrun could still get 2 points finishes out of this race with Lopez in 5th place. There is Will Power, a little bit all out on his own at the moment. He's 6.2 behind Adrian Sutil at the moment and 3.3 ahead of Fuoco, just biding his time, getting the most out of his car, making sure he gets to the end. He'll want to make sure that he brings home those 15 points he's on course for the moment to get Leighton House that promotion into League One. It's the big talking point out of this race, Tom. Leighton House could be our first team ever to gain promotion in the Grand Prix World Series.
It looks tantalisingly close now for the Leighton House squad. As you can see, Will Power in 3rd place. All Leighton House needed to have done today was to outscore Eurobron and LaRousse to do it, and they're most certainly doing it in style here with the cars 1st and 3rd, which will do their chances of the title as well. Good as with HRT only getting 1 car to the end, and the live cars in what positions are they in now? So for they're in 4th and 5th, aren't they?
As Gaston Mazzacane there getting a little bit locked up, but keeping his Fonmetal on track. Now we just caught a glimpse there of the lap times, Tom, the last time around. Sutil is actually closing in on Elio Castroneves at the moment. The gap between them 9.4 seconds, and I think it was about 9/10 of a second on the last lap alone he closed in, and there's another 3/10 in that last sector alone. So Sutil closing in on Helio Castroneves as we get towards the end of this race. I'm not sure if he's going to have enough time to get up to the back of Leighton House. We're on lap 33 out of 44, 3/4 distance in this race. There's 19.1 between them. That's going to have to be 1.5 to 2 seconds per lap, Tom. I'm not sure if he's going to do it without some sort of reliability issue for the Leighton House ahead of him.
It is touch and go now, to be honest with you. I mean, look to see what Froker can do with Will Power, actually. The gap is 4.7 seconds, or just under that. So just look to see what they're like now in the next sector. The gap is 5.1, so I think Will Power's just stretched out that margin a little bit more now. As Froco, I think he's going to have to settle for 4th place, to be honest with you. The live car saying 4th and 6th, it was just me correcting myself. But Sarto's right on the back of Lopez. It's a second now between those two.
Sarto using those fresh tyres to his advantage to close in on the Eurobahn. This is going to be vital in terms of their championship challenges within League 2. Leighton House looking on course for promotion and for the title with a 1-3 finish as it stands at the moment. The Life team, they'll want to get promotion, as well as Eurobahn and HRT also in there as well, with Adrian Sutil, Alex Lynn retiring out of 2nd place earlier on in this race. Sutil upholding honour for the HRT team led by John Monroe at the moment, still in strong position for 18 points at the moment. Sutil bringing the gap down even further to Elio Castroneves, but it's not going to be enough, is it, Tom? Looks like Castroneves is on course to win this race.
Yeah, it's been a dominant drive from Castroneves. It's a typically dominant performance. This victory of his will be just good to see how many victories that will be for him this season. Now that'll be his 3rd victory of the season, the first since Istanbul. That was part of the back-to-back victories he's had. So Castroneves, of course, for victory number 3 of the season, that will most certainly put him in championship contention for sure.
Well, it will put him on to 115 points as it stands. Actually, I think 116 if you take into account his points for pole position. If Suttil finishes second here today, he will be on 140 points, and Will Power will be on 128 from third place. Not sure who's got the fastest lap points at the moment. I think it might be Adrian Suttil, but that could change in the last few laps here, as we have a move there from, I think that's Marino Sato down the inside opposing Maria Lopez. And looking at the graphic, yep, Sato has got the move done. Sato up into 5th place. Both life cars now running within the top 5. That's going to be really important for them in the championship. Not just in the teams, but also in the drivers as well. They're on course for a good haul of points between them, but Lopez trying to stay in the slipstream of Sato ahead of him. He's also fighting to get the championship here this season. As it stands with him in 6th place, that will give him 118 points overall, which will be 22 off the lead of Adrian Suttil. If it finishes this way, this is all hypothetical at the moment, Tom. It could all change within the last 10 laps here.
It really could. And look to see that McNish is closing in on Lopez as well, so Lopez has got to watch his mirrors, because whilst he maybe wants to try and get back through on Sato, he's got a colony of Alan McNish to worry about.
Oh, there's been so much going on in this race, Tom. It's been an absolutely fascinating League 2 Brno Grand Prix. I'm just going to try and bring you a little bit of a recap as to what's gone on. Right at the start, there was drama as Marino Sato rammed into the back of Will Stevens off the line, retiring the Englishman on the spot. And Marino Sato will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grid next time out. Callum Eilert then retiring all on his own. He'd gone from P26 up to P15 within the first 6 laps. He was putting in an absolute exhibition in overtaking, was the British driver. Then just pushed a little bit too hard, got himself offline into the marbles, into the gravel and into the barrier. So his race coming to a premature end, and Will Knight already announcing that he will be benched for the next race. Max Chilton will make his Grand Prix World Series debut in his place. Jamie Green also becoming a cropper in an instance of his own making as he went off track at the same place as Callum Eilert into turn 10 and breaking his car on the barrier as well. Alex Lynn retired with a puncture, presumably picking up a puncture from debris from one of those crashes. Brendan Hartley coming together with Sam Bird. Hartley retiring on the spot. Sam Bird able to continue and now in P12. Christian Lundgaard pick up a puncture again, presumably from debris from an earlier incident. Jack Aitken had a loose wheel and Oliver Turvey's gearbox packed in. 18 runners left in this race, Tom. It's been an eventful one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been people say it's been the best of British, it's been the worst of British if you're a Brit watching. But there's still 4 Brits left in this race at least anyway. McNish is in 7th place, Sam Bird 12th, Oliver Turvey 14th, Jake Dennis 15th, we've just seen Jerome D'Ambrosio. A bit wide actually, getting a bit out of shape at turn 1, but he's continued anyway. And he's 8 seconds behind Scott Speed now, so Jerome Groves, he's going to have a little bit of luck on his side in the remaining laps, isn't he?
Well, this is one of Andrea Moda's best outings for quite a long time now. Their best finish of the season was a P5 at the hands of Vincenzo Sospiri back in the Adelaide Grand Prix, albeit in a race of attrition where Sospiri was 5th of, I think it was 7 or 8 classified runners in that particular event. It was a very low amount of finishes, and Sospiri picking up 10 points there for Andrea Moda. Since then, an 8th place finish in Yongam, a 10th place finish in Istanbul, and an 8th place finish in Birmingham. A lot of retirements in the last few races as well, Tom. Since Imola 4 rounds ago, they've only had 1 finish between their 2 drivers, and that was a P15 for, I believe that's Jerome D'Ambrosio. No, it's Valentino Rossi in that race. Jerome D'Ambrosio only having 1 finish to his name so far this season, but at the moment, D'Ambrosio in 11th and Dennis in 15th, so any attrition at the front, Tom, that could be a well-earned point for Lewis Bassendale and the team.
Most certainly so. Just seeing Esteban Gutierrez in 16th place in a really dogged from Natal. How do you rate his performance today, Topher? Because he didn't have many laps in Estoril, but how have you seen his performance?
I have barely seen anything of Esteban Gutierrez in this race, I will be honest. He retired out of his first race last time out in Estoril quite early on in the race, as you point out, Tom. He's had very few laps in the car. So, well, he's kept it on track. He's kept himself out of trouble. He's running out of the top 15 at the moment. but that is expected given the lack of speed within the Vomital. It is the slowest car on the grid. There's been practically no power upgrades going into that car. Ewan Gale just making sure his car gets to the end of races, basically. But Ed Hunter has just got in touch in the YouTube live chat, saying that Turvey's still in the race and his gearbox hasn't packed up yet. So Ed Hunter enjoying seeing one of his cars in this race at the moment. And it's not been that bad a performance from the Real team, actually. If you think about it, Tom, they were getting very racy early on with the Andrea Motors. And Mike Conway is still in this race as well. And Suttle into the pits from second. So what has gone on here? We're not picking up as to why he has gone into the pits. I can only presume at this point in the race, it must be something mechanical. So, we're not picking up with the cameras why he's in the pits. But he has dropped out of P2. Where is he going to re-emerge? Because this could be crucial for the championship, Tom. He's going to get 18 points for second. He's now out in P7, which is going to be 6 points. It's a drop of 12 points. And what has gone on there, Tom?
Yeah, that's a body blow for the HRT squad in their fight for promotion. It's good news for Eurobron because Jose Lopez has moved up 8 position into 5th. I think with the remaining laps we've got, I think Sutter will get past McNish and Lopez and Sato. But I think that's the highest he's going to be by the end of this one, but we'll see.
Well, we're on lap 38 out of 44. It's the 7th to last lap here in Brno for the League 2 race. We are hearing from the pit lane that it was a throttle issue for the HRT, so the throttle getting stuck open. He's back into pits, he's had that sorted out by the team, and he's back out in P7. 2.2 seconds behind Alan McNish at the moment, who's 1.2 behind Lopez. But they will have put fresh tyres onto the car at the same time in order to give him as much an advantage as possible in the last few laps. We'll keep an eye on his progress. What sort of time can Suttle make up, having had that unnecessary, enforced, that it's not unnecessary, of course, it was a throttle issue, but that enforced pit stop into the pits, and that could be so damaging to his championship challenge, Tom.
It most certainly is, and Adrian Suttle is the championship leader going into this round, and as it stands, he's on course, I think he's on course to be losing that championship lead to Will Power.
So I'm just working this out on the updated order now as Suttle going past Alan McNish for P6. We'll hold off on the points for now because Suttle's moving into P6. That will get him an extra couple of points as he goes past the Scuderia Coloni down into turn 1. And Jose Maria Lopez just up the road as well, so that could be 5th place for the taking soon for Adrian Suttle. Where will he get up to in relation to these guys here, the life cars of Antonio Fuoco and Marino Sato? I think, as you say, Tom, I think Sato might be possible for Suttle, but Fuoco maybe just a little bit out of reach.
We'll see. It just depends on the pace that Suttle can put in. He may even go for the fastest lap because now he's on fresher tyres. Well,
he's just made the move past Jose Maria Lopez. A little bit of clear air now to Marino Sato, who is 4.1 seconds up the road. So I think that's a good call there, Tom. This might be a good opportunity for him to get that extra point for fastest lap, which you never know, Tom. That could end up being the difference
by the end of the season at Laguna Seca especially. So looking at Turvey, who's just trying to get past Sergio Sette Camera, who's had a below par performance today, to be quite honest with you, despite doing that one-stop strategy. But you have to feel the HRT and for John Monroe, with Alex Lane already having that issue that forced him out of the race. Suttle 3 seconds behind Sato currently, so we'll keep an eye out on the gap as it stands.
Well, how about this, Tom? The maths has been done. If it finishes like this, with Will Power in 2nd and Adrian Suttle in 5th, there will be 2 points between them with 2 rounds left to go. It couldn't really be much closer, can there? And there we go, Tom. You called it absolutely spot on. Suttle gets the fastest lap. That will be an additional point and a gap of 3 points as it stands. But how is he going to close in that gap to Marino Sato? It's 2.1 seconds as we run with 4.5 laps left to go in Brno for the League 2 race. This one is not over yet, Tom. There is your visual gap actually just there. We saw Sato going across the screen. Suttle is closing right in on the Japanese here.
If he passes him, that'll be him retaining his lead in the type of race.
Well, how has this race been? It's been so action-packed. We've had so many retirements, so many overtakes. it wouldn't actually surprise me, Tom, if we might have a new record for number of overtakes within a race in Brno here today. There's been so much going on, and I'm trying to think back to everything that has been going on in this race, and I'm struggling to pinpoint exact instances just because there's so many to think through.
So looking at Sato on the onboard, he is most certainly closing in on Sato. Can he get right up to him by the time they get onto the pit straight? It is possible. You can see Froko further up ahead, so I think if Sato was to get past Sato, he would be around about 9 seconds behind him with 4 laps left, and yeah, I think Froko is out of reach, but we'll see what Sato can do from here.
Well, the gap is now less than a second between Marino Sato and Adrian Suttil. We're looking at Antonio Fuoco at the moment. We want to be looking behind him, and we are now. Suttil making the move down into turn 1. He's out of the slipstream, and can he get it done here? Looks like he is. Yes, down the inside goes Adrian Suttil. Sato with no response to that overtake whatsoever. And Sato, I think, given his knowledge that Suttil is on the fresher tyres and essentially driving angry, I think Sato probably made that a little bit easier than he could have for the German.
Yeah, I would say so too. Sutter will be absolutely livid. He's desperate to get all those points back that he's lost. The gap at the moment, as they come across the sector 1 line, 7.1 seconds. Now that keep an eye out on that gap, Topher, because that will come down for sure by the time they get to sector 2.
Well, we're on lap 41 out of 43, and that gap between Fuoco and Suttil, as you say, Tom, 7.1 seconds at the moment. So with about 3.5 laps left to go here, there will need to be like well over 1.5 seconds per lap. But catching is one thing, passing is another. And is this a slowing Real? It is, yes, indeed. Oliver Turvey pulling over to the side of the circuit, and it's a gearbox issue. So Ed Hunter, he called it earlier, didn't he, Tom, in the YouTube live chats? He was surprised that Turvey's gearbox hasn't yet packed up, and I'm sorry to say, Ed, it just has. And there's a trip across the gravel, and Turvey is out of this race, and that is a shame because the Real team was having a really good performance here today.
Well, he's completed enough laps as well, so he'll still be classified.
That is very true. That will be crucial for prize money, actually, for Ed Hunter and the Real team. You get the prize money if you are classified in this race. We're on lap 42 out of 44, so you will still be picking up that additional prize money for finishing a race. So a silver lining for you there, Ed. But it is another retirement for your cars. Lap 42 out of 44. Cassia Neves ahead of Will Power. Looks set to be a Leighton House 1-2, but more importantly, a Leighton House promotion into League One. As it stands, it is going to happen for Chris Cavity and the team. They just need to bring those cars to the end, pick up the maximum points they can, and then enjoy the fact that they will be in the top tier next season. Antonio Fuoco in third, and the gap between Fuoco and Suttil now 4.7 seconds. Tom, it's possible. I would say it's possible.
Yeah, it's 4.7 seconds. The gap was 5.1, so he's only taken 4/10 out of Fuoco's margin in sector 1, and it's touching out what it would be like in sector 2, because obviously that's the longest sector of the lap, so I can imagine Suttil will have taken more out of it. The gap is now less than 4 seconds, so he's not taking as much as I thought he would do, but it's still worthy of keeping an eye out on.
Well, here is Antonio Fuoco running in P3 at the moment. He will have been informed by the team that Suttil is closing in on him, and there you can see the visual gap between them. They are on the same straight within the last sector, so pressure being applied now to Fuoco. Oh, D'Ambrosio's coming to a slow. Jerome D'Ambrosio, he's been having such a strong race, and it's a gearbox issue for the Belgian. Oh, he was having one of his best performances so far in the Grand Prix World Series, but it's all come to naught, and he is out of the race.
So that promotes Sandberg up to 11th position. Sete Kamago goes up a position as well, as do Dennis and Gutierrez. So Andrea Moda's chances of points have pretty much died for one more race. Yeah, I mean, that's another blow for the team. Maybe we weren't going to get that point anyway, but it's still a body blow given how well D'Ambrosio has done here today.
It was an absolutely fantastic job by Jerome today. Worthy of some points, I would have said. And Lidia Cassia Neves there getting a little bit out of shape through the corner there. Not quite sure what corner that was. I think that might have been turn 8, I think that might have been he was going through at that time. Still keeps on track though, but he'll want to calm down a bit now because we're on the penultimate lap and any mistakes like that now could prove costly for Leighton House. Just bring the cars home, boys. You don't need to push it any more than you have to. Now, Castroneves now on his last lap and on course to take his third victory within the Grand Prix World Series, and it's going to be his third win from 8 races. Castroneves has made a really big impact into the series since he came on board for the Kyalami Grand Prix, winning at his first attempt and following that up at the next race in Istanbul with another victory. A podium followed at Hockenheim a couple of rounds ago, and now on course for a third win here in Brno in the Czech Republic. And looking at this, Tom, Adrian Sutil, he can smell Antonio Fuoco. He's getting that close, but as we start the last lap, what's the gap going to be? It is 1.3 seconds, and I said it earlier, Tom, catching is one thing, passing is another. I don't think he's going to have quite enough time here.
No, I don't think so too, but he'll give it a good old try here for Sutil. Wants to go to the race leader though, because Castroneves and Will Power are about to seal the 1-2 and promotion for this year. What a brilliant season it's been for them.
This is going to be a historic moment within the Grand Prix World Series. This is the first season in which a promotion relegation system has been introduced into the Grand Prix World Series. We introduced a second tier. We announced that there would be promotion up into League 1 and relegation down into League 2. And as it stands, Leighton House are about to become the first team to be promoted. They're not going to clinch the title this time around, but promotion is what Chris Cavney and the team were aiming for this season, and they are about to accomplish that in fine fashion with a 1-2 finish. And Sutil is right behind Antonio Fuoco, but we're going away from that as we go to the front. Hideo Castroneves wins the League 2 Brno Grand Prix, and with Will Power coming through in second place, there will be promotion into League 1 for Leighton House. Congratulations to them, but for now, let's focus on this battle here, because this has gotten really close between Fuoco and Adrian Sutil. Can Sutil get that move done? There's only a few metres left to go in this race. Out to the final corner, I think that is, or actually no, sorry, we've got 2 corners left to go. I'm trying to think where we are on the track. We are on the penultimate corner now. Can Sutil get the power down as he needs to get past Antonio Fuoco and out drag him to the line? Fuoco gets a good exit out of the corner, so does Sutil, and it's not going to be enough. Fuoco takes third place. Adrian Sutil recovers to fourth place. It should have been second for the German. As a result of recovering to fourth, he does indeed hold on to the lead of the championship, but his lead has been cut down to only 4 points now, I think it is. Actually, no. We need to see who's got a fast lap. I think it is Sutil, which will give him an extra point, which means there'll be a gap of 5 between Sutil and Will Power. Going across the line now, Sarto's in 5th ahead of McNish. Jose Maria Lopez, more points for him in 7th ahead of Winkelhock. A good day for the Eurobrun team. Alexander Rossi in 9th and Scotsby in 10th, and Sutil's off. What's happened here? Sutil on the cooling down lap has gone off the track. So, I mean, what's happened there, Tom? Is that a mistake, or has he come together with someone?
I don't know whether he's come together with Fuoco on the in lap.
So, I don't know. We didn't see it on the camera, but one thing we should probably focus on here, Tom, Leighton House, Hideo Castroneves and Will Power have done it.
There's no question. I mean, what a brilliant decision Chris Cavney's made on the driver lineup during that season as well, because he had Alex Wirtz and Robert Wickens in the car, and now the combination of Will Power and Hideo Castroneves has been out of this world, hasn't it? They absolutely deserved it.
So your official results: Leighton House 1-2, Castroneves his 3rd win of the season ahead of Will Power, Fuoco 4th ahead of Sutil, Sato, McNish, Lopez and Winkelhock getting Eurobruns into the top 10, Rossi and Speed picking up points here today, Sambird just missing out on points in P11 ahead of Sergio Sete Camara, Jake Dennis finishes on debut, albeit a lap down, Gutierrez 4th in the Fomitel ahead of Sorokin and Mazzacane, Jerome D'Ambrosio and Turvey retiring in the last few laps but still classified, and then our retirements: Mike Conway, Jack Aitken, Christian Lundgaard, Brendan Harley, Alex Lynn, Jamie Green, Callum Eilert and Will Stevens. And our fastest lap point goes to Adrian Sutil, an additional point there for the German. And Tom, what a race that was. That was so thrilling to watch. And we still got more left to come. We've got the League 1 race coming up soon.
Yep, and we've got another title battle to look out for, and of course the battle to beat the drop.
Well, the guys who will be beating the drop in League 2 and going up into League 1 next season, Leighton House. Congratulations. You have done it. You were into League 1 for Season 3. A massive congratulations to the Leighton House team. to Chris Cavani and to Helio Castroneves and Will Power. What a season it's been from them. We still have more racing to come for you when we tune into League One race. We're going to have a quick break. Stick around and see you in 5 minutes' time.
Ah, what music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready?
The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy. Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It is like being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine low to the ground, extra big oil pans will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs it close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you prime painted and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna do perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darren Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? what we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own. Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the League 1 race here in Brno. We just had a really exciting League 2 race, won by Helio Castroneves, followed up by Will Power to Leighton House 1-2, and as a result, they will be joining the big boys of League 1 in Season 3. A massive congratulations to them. But we still have unfinished business within League 1. It is a third to last round here in Brno. Still a lot to play for within the championship, a lot of track action to be had. And Tom, you've been alongside me throughout the whole season. You've seen all the action that's going on, and we're now coming to crunch point within the championship.
We are very much now, and you know, with the Drivers' Championship still on the line at the moment, with Scott Dixon's run of form, and he won last time out in Estoril, that boosted his championship charge. How will he go here today in Brno? Can he get another win to take him closer to the title, or can Antonio Felix da Costa rebound from that miserable outing in Portugal to put himself or keep himself in contention going into the last 2 rounds after this one?
Well, one driver change to speak of going into today's race, and it is going to be a home Grand Prix for Thomas Enger. Michael Gillespie of the Midland Racing Team deciding to bring Enger into the car for his home Grand Prix, give him a run and see how he gets on in the car, and that will be in place of Tiago Monteiro. And Tom, Michael has said this is going to be just for this race, but if Enger does indeed impress in this race, maybe the whole season?
I have to see how it goes. I mean, we saw Lewis Williamson being given a chance, but with Thomas Enger, I think we need to see how he does. I mean, he's qualified not disastrously, but he hasn't blown me away yet with what he's done in over the course of single lap pace. But we'll see how he does in the race in comparison to his teammate Paul di Resta.
And looking at the Drivers' Championship going into this race, it is the lead of the championship for Scott Dixon after his win last time out in Estoril. 120 points for the Kiwi, 13 ahead of Robin Fraines, second in the championship, but yet to win a race this season. Could that maybe change today here in the Czech Republic? Antonio Felix da Costa a further 4 points behind, and a further 2 behind is Nico Hulkenberg in the Arrow, still there or thereabouts. It's still all to play for, Tom. Any of these top 10 drivers can still mathematically win the championship.
I mean, it's all to play for, really. I think there's no question that Dixon has the fastest car, but he hasn't been getting to the end of races. And you look at Lotterer, I think Lotterer's run of form has faded, to be honest with you. Because even though he has been finishing them, like in the lower end of the points, he has had a lot of luck go his way. So Lotterer needs to have a really strong race here, but he's once again been out-qualified by his teammate Nelson Piquet Jr.
He has had 4 podiums this season, has Lotterer, including a race victory in Fuji earlier on in the season. And he's got some decent points here or there, but maybe needs to be picking up another race win if he's going to keep himself in true contention for this championship. We've also got Kevin Magnussen, Sebastian Buemi, Stoffel van Dorn, Kazuki Nakajima and Sebastian Bourdais also in the top 10. Bourdais in a good position today as he will start from pole position. We'll bring you more on that development in just a moment. Let's have a quick look at the teams. Super Guri on 210 points, 20 ahead of Simtek, and then Onyx Grand Prix on 164. Arrows at 147. We have the top 7 teams all on 100 points or more in this race. And as denoted by the gold line there, Tom, only the top 7 can now win this championship.
Yes, and I would be saying either Super Guri or Simtek. But having said that, if Onyx, with their form at Leeds, if they can show it in this one with Sebastian Bourdais on pole position, which is the first time since round 3 of the season in Sepang that Simtek have not qualified on pole. So if they can convert that into the race win, that would most certainly throw them into genuine contention for the last 2 rounds in Argentina and the US.
And at the other end, the contention for relegation. Here is your relegation battle. As it stands, no team has yet officially been relegated, but I think it's safe to say that MasterCard Lola, with only 5 points to its name this season, I think they will be appearing in League 2 into Season 3. So we're focusing on the battle between Manor, Prost, Midland, Forty and Minardi. Tom, talk me through this one. It's so close between these drivers and teams.
It is so close, and even like a podium position for one of these teams can make a drastic difference, which was illustrated by Prost's performance in Hockenheim a couple of rounds ago, where Marco Wittmann, he finished second in that, and that put Prost from being second bottom to being second from the top three. From the bottom three, sorry.
It's still all to play for. There's so much action to come in the last 3 races within League One. Can Minardi maybe drag themselves out of the top 10 at the end of this race? They have Danny Junkendaya qualifying in 7th today. What can he do from there? Let's get down to trackside and the big talking point going into this race. Simtek's pole streak has been broken. It's been 6 consecutive pole positions for Scott Dixon. He now finishes. He now starts second behind Sebastian Bourdais on pole for this race. Robin Frames and Pascal Wehrlein are on row 2 ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr. 5th on the grid ahead of Kazuki Nakajima, top 6 for both Onyx drivers. Danny Junkendaya, his best of the season so far, in 7th ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, our one-time race winner this season. Championship contender Antonio Felix da Costa on row 5 alongside Sebastian Buemi. Then Marco Wittmann having a good run for Prost in qualifying alongside his fellow Marco, this time Andretti at the bottom end of row 6. Row 7 is Kevin Magnussen and Artem Markelov, making it overall a very good day for the Prost team as both of their drivers within the top 14. Nick de Vries and Roman Grosjean are on row 8 ahead of Nico Hulkenberg and Andre Lotterer, 2 championship contenders, not getting their laps hooked up in qualifying, and they will start 17th and 18th today. Paul di Resta and Roy Nissany make up row 10 ahead of Simona Di Silvestro and our debutant today at his home Grand Prix, Thomas Enger, lining up 22nd here today. Tom Christensen and Tatiana Calderon 23rd and 24th. Mika Salo is 25th, and then with a back of the grid penalty from the last race, Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtek. He will have an uphill battle today, Tom.
He will, but we saw from Callum Ilott before he retired how many places he gained in those opening few laps. I'm confident that Van Dorn will do the same. But at the front, Cam Bourdais converts his pole position into the 2nd victory of his career in the Grand Prix World Series. Will we see anyone making jumps for the championship at top or at the bottom? We'll find out at the end of the next 44 laps.
So Bourdais on the right, Dixon on the left, the first non-Simtek pole position for a long time now within the Grand Prix World Series. How is this going to shake up the order? And we are off and away in Brno for the League One race. Sebastian Bourdais holding on to his lead. No, he's not. Dixon going straight into lead action. And look at Pascal Wehrlein coming up on the inside. And this happened again, Tom. Another driver's been taken out, and it's Antonio Felix da Costa, one of our championship contenders. And there's more drivers going off there. It's an absolute chaotic start to the League One race here. And we ride with Antonio Felix da Costa. We try to work out what has gone on here. We saw it in the League 2 race of Will Stevens. He was taken out off the line by Marino Sato, and has it happened again? So looking backwards here, it's not going to be Buemi, is it? Let's hit him up the rear. Or is it maybe the cross there? No, it is Buemi. Buemi smashing into the back of Antonio Felix da Costa then as he comes back on the track. Oh, smashed up the back there. I think that might have been Di Silvestro who hit him up the back. So, Sebastian Buemi, I'm pretty sure, was the one who instigated that contact in the first place. We're going to ride on board with the Swiss BAR driver here. They get off the line, and it's not too bad a start from Buemi, actually, looking to get past... actually, Da Costa got on the back of one of the BMS Scuderia Italians there, which then caught out Buemi. So, Buemi maybe not at fault for that. There's a little bit of a concertina effect with Da Costa hitting the back of what I think must have been Piquet Jr. off the line. Trying to work this one out. We're riding on board now with Tatiana Calderon in the in the MasterCard Lola. So was it Calderon that then hit Da Costa as he came back onto the track? We're trying to make sense of all this as to what's gone on here. There is the initial contact, and it was Di Silvestro that Da Costa hit as he came back onto the track. So Tom, let's try and pick the pieces out of all of this one.
Well, first of all, Da Costa hit the back of Piquet Jr. before Buemi ricocheted into him, and just looked right on board with Di Silvestro. I mean, she was just an innocent passenger in this one, to be honest with you. Innocent bystander, I should say. Could she have avoided it? She saw the debris there.
Well, she had a Midland to the right of her, so she couldn't really have turned too far away from that. Da Costa, I'm not sure if I could put any blame on here for that. And is he trying to continue his Da Costa? He's still going on 2 wheels, and now the car comes to a stop. But was he maybe trying to continue and get back to the pits? Very ambitious from the Portuguese, but he is now out of the race. And there was a lot going on in that one, Tom. And
there was.
I mean, try and make sense of all of it if you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the furthest I've seen a car do on 2 wheels, to be honest with you. And yeah, I would say Da Costa initiated that because he tapped the back as Andre Lotterer goes off.
And Andre Lotterer, one of our championship contenders, straight on into the gravel trap. Has he come into contact with someone there? He's out of the race. So 2 championship contenders out of this race. And it's Paul di Resta who's gone and nudged him off the track, and he's taken off his right rear tyre. So I think the stewards are going to be very busy on this opening lap here. We've got the coming together between Da Costa, Di Silvestro, and seemingly everyone else. Now Di Resta has gone and punted Andre Lotterer off the track. It's all kicking off here in Brno, Tom.
It is, and Van Don's done well to avoid all of the melee to make up a few positions in this one, so it's been a good start for the Simtex.
A very good start for the Simtex. Scott Dixon into the lead of this race. Bourdais has gone the other way as he's down into 3rd behind Wehrlein as well. Wehrlein, he was running 2nd last time out in Estoril before crashing out on lap 2 or 3, so he'll want to make amends for that today. And Wehrlein actually keeping Dixon quite honest at the moment. We just saw them going across the front of the screen. Wehrlein sticking with the Kiwi at the moment and maybe lining up for a move into the lead of this race. And there we've got Robin Frains all over the back of, I think might have been Kazuki Nakajima, I believe it was. Both of the Onyx drivers running in 3rd and 4th at the moment. So Frains now pulling out of that slipstream and having to duck back in again. The Onyx has got some good power down straight, but now Frains tries to use that slipstream to his advantage, and he moves down the inside into P4 with 1 Super Guri out of this race, Tom. Frains now needs to pick up all the points that he can with Super Guri in the lead of the championship.
It's very true, and you know that was a really body blow for Da Costa. That's a bad dent to his title aspirations. With Dixon in the lead, and you know he's got to hope that misfortunes hit the Simtek team as Frains tries to salvage something in this race whilst Da Costa is on the sidelines.
So I'm just trying to piece together in my mind everything that's been going on that lap 1 incident. We know about what happened with Andre Lotterer and Paul di Resta getting into the side of Lotterer and punting him out of the race. To me, actually, let's have a quick look at this battle here first, because it looks like Wehrlein is lining up Dixon for an overtake here down into turn 7 and doesn't quite get the move done here. So Wehrlein staying behind Dixon at the moment. Is Buemi having a look there at Artem Markelov running in 11th and not getting anything done there. So lap 1, Tom, my belief on that is it looked to me like Antonio Felix da Costa hit the back of Nelson Piquet Jr., which inevitably slowed him down, caused the concertina effect, which put Buemi into the back of Da Costa. I don't think there can be any blame attributed to Buemi there at all, just caught out by a suddenly slowing Super Guri in that lot. And then Da Costa in a car that was out of control, then coming back onto the track, getting in the way of Di Silvestro. Oh, we got contact there! So Kamui Kobayashi there was down the inside of Kazuki Nakajima, and it's another retirement from this race, and shortly the stewards are going to be having a look at that one as well. They've already been very busy, and it's only lap 2.
Yeah, it's the Japanese drivers. I mean, history repeats itself from Brazil 2009, doesn't it? As Kobayashi, oh, that's really clumsy from Kobayashi. I'm sorry, but that is a slam dunk penalty there for Kobayashi. I don't know what penalty it will be. That's down to the stewards to decide on it, but Kobayashi cannot get away with that.
Well, if Kobayashi gets a penalty for an incident that we're going to have another quick look at here, down the inside, and he's trying to make a move with TFX, and actually Nakajima sort of cuts in on him, so I'm not sure how to read that one actually, Tom. They were both fighting for position. Kobayashi down the inside, but Nakajima closing the door on him. So how do you read that, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, you make a point. There's debris runs wide as well, nearly coming back into the path there of Roman Grosjean's manor. Yeah, I mean, you make a point. Nakajima did cut back a little bit, but Kobayashi was not going to complete the move. I mean, to be honest, should Nakajima have left him a little bit more space?
It's a difficult one. It's for the stewards to decide. As we have a look at Sebastian Bourdais getting down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein there for P2. So Wehrlein was closing in on Dixon for the lead, and at one point looking likely to make a pass through into P1, but now losing out to Sebastian Bourdais and dropping down to P3. Frayn's now trying to get in on the action as well in P4. Dixon will be happy to see that behind him, those two fighting amongst themselves, but it allows him to extend his advantage a little bit. The gap between them half a second at the moment, as PK Jr., who was caught up in that lap 1 incident earlier on, which is under investigation, by the way, just been confirmed by race control. PK going from 5th on the grid down into 10th. Now having been overtaken by Artem Markelov, actually, having a good run at the moment. Both Prosts within the top 10 as Buemi down the inside of Nelson PK Jr. going backwards. So I wonder, Tom, has he picked up damage from that contact with Da Costa?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think, whatever it is, I mean, Da Costa is the one I think Da Costa initiated that, and in terms of the way he came back onto the track, into the path of Di Silvestro, I think Da Costa will be getting a penalty for it, if I'm honest with you, Topher. I really, really do. Because he was driving the car back onto the racetrack in a dangerous condition.
That will completely depend on whether he actually had control of the car at that point or not. He did only have 2 wheels on his wagon. And Chris Cavaney in the YouTube live chat, he's also saying that Da Costa could get a penalty out of that for bad driving. But of course, the stewards, they will take everything into consideration as to whether anyone gets a penalty out of that. Initially, I will be honest, I would have put the blame on Sebastian Buemi for hitting the back. Don't forget, in the League 2 race, we had the same problem with Will Stevens being hit out the back by Marino Sato. Sato getting a back of the grid penalty for that. But then, having seen the replay, I'm actually happy to admit that I was wrong on Buemi's judgment, as there was the initial contact between Da Costa and this man here, Nelson Piquet Jr., fighting there with Kevin Magnussen. Piquet falling down another position, so Piquet having a horrible race at the moment. He's down 7 positions in this race, Tom. What's going on here, do you think?
I don't know. I think I've just seen the change of position actually, as well as Pascal Wehrlein and Robin Freins were tussling amongst each other. Here we go, look, Pascal Wehrlein holding up Freins in the battle for the final podium spot. Freins dives to the inside, and he's through.
This is going to be a crucial move for Robin Freins and Super Guri. Still has Wehrlein alongside him, but then gets the move done into the next corner. Once Super Guri is out of this race, there's only one of them left. It is Robin Freins. He is in contention for this championship as it stands at the moment, but Super Guri, they need both cars finishing if they're going to bring home the trophies at the end of the season. Da Costa had a really strong start in the first half of the season. Since then, it's been a little bit harder for the Portuguese driver. He did pick up his first Grand Prix victory at the Hockenheim Grand Prix a couple of rounds ago, but in between that, 3 retirements from 6 races now, including today. So Da Costa, a bit of an inconsistent second half to the season. 2 rounds left to go though, Tom. It is still possible.
It's still very possible indeed. We've just seen Robin Freins, who will be shooting off into the distance to go after both Bourdais and Dixon. He needs to win this race, does Freins. He hasn't won a race so far this season, as Markov dives to the inside of his teammate Marco Wittmann for 8th place. Markov impressing so far in the Grand Prix World Series.
Markov having a strong drive at the moment into P8 in this race, past his teammate Marco Wittmann. There is PK Jr. down in 12th place, trying to get back past Kevin Magnussen at the moment, down into turn 1. Is the BMS going to get the job done? Magnussen's holding on around the outside, and Buemi getting a little bit in the way there of PK, so Magnussen's able to hold on to the position around the outside as PK gets balked there by the BAR. And Magnussen now going past. Does Buemi maybe have a problem? No, maybe just a little bit caught up in the dirty air of Marco Wittmann in front of him. Both Prosts having a strong run at the moment in P8 and P9. A good drive here from those two. So, some parish notes coming our way, Tom, as we had plenty of in the League 2 race. Buemi down the inside of Wittmann there for P9. Christensen gets a little bit locked up there into turn 6, but keeps hold of the Minardi. So, some parish notes here, Tom. The lap 1 incident is under investigation, as we already know, and then 2 further incidents. The incident between Paul di Resta and Andre Lotterer is under investigation, as is the incident between Kamui Kobayashi and Kazuki Nakajima. I think the one with Paul di Resta is a slam dunk penalty for di Resta, but Kobayashi and Nakajima I'm not too sure about, because from the onboard of Kobayashi, it looked like Nakajima might have turned in on him.
Yeah, if he's turning on him, then that could really go down as a racing incident, couldn't it? Because Nakajima is the one who is out of the race. But we'll see what the stewards make of it later on. But I think with Kobayashi, in terms of this incidents he's been involved, I mean, I don't suppose he was involved in the first in the first one, was he, at the start, involving Da Costa and Buemi?
Well, I'm trying to remember who was involved in that. There was Piquet, Da Costa, Buemi and Di Silvestro all caught up in that lap 1 incident. It's just been confirmed by race control, Tom. The lap 1 incident will be investigated after the race, so too much going on for them to talk about now. They will look at it in more close detail when we come to the conclusion of this race. Meanwhile, at the front, it's actually looking very close between these two here. Scott Dixon and Sebastian Bourdais, less than a second between those two. Tom, we're so used to seeing Scott Dixon clear off into the distance. Bourdais not letting him get away here today.
Yeah, for once, Dixon not shooting off into the distance as Bourdais sticking to him like glue. And Robin Fines will be looking to join in with these two fighting against each other as Wittmann gets back through on Buemi for 9th place. They're having a good squabble, those guys, in the lower end of the points.
So Sebastian Buemi getting a little bit offline and coming under pressure from Kevin Magnussen as well, but able to hold on to 10th place at the moment. So what about Artem Markelov here? He got past Marco Wittmann into 8th and is actually clearing that battle at the moment, 1.3 seconds. Markelov effectively auditioning for a seat next season. This is at your team, Tom. What's your thoughts on that so far?
Well, Markelov is doing a really fine job at the moment. I thought his CV in Formula 2 showed it, and now he's beginning to show it in the Grand Prix World Series here today. As you can see, side by side still between Wittmann and Buemi.
He got some contact there. So Magnussen has not. Sebastian Buemi there. Oh, there's more contact there. Buemi's out of the race. That is in contact with Stoffel van Dorn, who's actually come out of nowhere. He's up into P15 at this point from last on the grid. So let's try and pick the pieces of this one. Magnussen dive bombing down the inside of Buemi and knocking the Swiss into the gravel there. Buemi doing well to hold on to and get it back on track, but into the path of Stoffel van Dorn. The rear wheel ripped off the BAR there. I'm not sure if I can lay any blame on Van Dorn there at all. He was an innocent bystander as Buemi was coming back onto the track. I think surely, Tom, the blame there has to be on Kevin Magnussen for instigating that.
Yeah, but I think Buemi will be in trouble as well for rejoining the track dangerously as well, because he rejoined into the path of Van Dorn, look.
And Van Dorn, you can see that he did attempt to get out of the way, but just reacted a bit too late. So I think you have a fair point there, Tom. Sebastian Buemi out of the race, but could there be a penalty coming his way for an unsafe rejoining of the track? He was engrossed in a huge battle going on there amongst Marco Wittmann, Kevin Magnussen, and it all came to a head with Magnussen down the inside of Buemi, punting him off onto the grass. And Magnussen now down the inside of Marco Wittmann. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a safer overtake this time around, but Magnussen surely will also be under investigation from the stewards.
It's going to be quite a busy day in the stewards' room afterwards as Engel loses out to Sarlo by the looks of it. Sarlo, who's had a really dogged season, to be quite honest with you, in his maiden campaign in the Grand Prix World Series. He at least gets an overtake done on the Midland and moves up a position.
So riding on board with Scott Dixon, still less than a second ahead of Sebastian Bourdais. The French are really keeping the Kiwi honest at the moment. And this is a race that could go on. This is a battle that could go on for the whole race, sorry. We still don't know what their fuel strategies are going to be. And if they're on a similar fuel strategy, Tom, this genuinely could be a battle that lasts all race.
Tell me about it. Bourdais still stays in touch with him. This is going to go down to the pit stops, isn't it? And that's another thing. Who's going to make the one-stop work and who's going to make the two-stop work?
We saw a one-stop strategy in the earlier race from Markus Winkelhock, which brought him some points in that race. A German racing in the Eurobrun, coming home in P8 in that race, and not challenging for the podium, but still a good haul of points for himself and for the Eurobrun team. And we can see there 5 retirements already. Di Silvestro, Da Costa, Lotterer, and it's just cuts away at the wrong moment there. It's also Nakajima and Buemi who have also retired from this race as we are on lap 8 out of 44. Nelson Piquet Jr. we ride on board with now behind Marco Wittmann, who started off this race really well. Did Wittmann. He qualified in P11 and got himself up into 8th earlier on, then losing positions to teammate Artem Markelov, then Kevin Magnussen, and now Roman Grosjean up into P10 in the manner. Wittmann now coming under pressure from Piquet. Maybe Wittmann's on a one-stop strategy, Tom. His speed at the moment might suggest that he is on a bit of a heavier fuel load, so easily is he losing positions. So maybe he's trying something different today.
We'll see. There's still a long way to go yet in this one, as we will be seeing more and more battles happening on the racetrack. And Marco Andretti in 7th place is doing a fine job in the Manor so far. Manor, who seem to be safe at the moment, but they just want to get some more points to make sure and just solidify their status for next season. As we look at Scott Dixon riding by, this is a nice camera angle when we see it. Scott Dixon is followed through by Sebastian Bourdais as they go through turns, and that looks like turn 8 or something like that, or turn 10.
So Scott Dixon still in the lead over Sebastian Bourdais. He's pulled out the gap by 2/10 in the last couple of sectors, but Bourdais still sticking with him. There is Robin Fraines in P3, 2.9 seconds off the lead at the moment. He's just driving his own race at the moment. Now here's Paul di Resta, one of the drivers who's under investigation. There still hasn't been any confirmation from the stewards as to whether there will be a penalty for the Scotsman. I think, to be honest, Tom, I think that one involving him and Lotterer is a bit of a slam dunk.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And we've seen back of the grid penalties being dished out, but are we going to be seeing race bans being dished out? Because it's becoming more and more frequent now with the way the drivers are doing it.
I think it's a race ban if you are involved in 2 or more incidents like that. It's only one for di Resta at the moment, which, if it is a penalty, that will probably be a back of the grid penalty for the next race in Buenos Aires. And Wittmann now coming under attack from Hulkenberg. Tried to stick around the outside of turn 1 there, leading into turn 2. Wittmann sticking with him at the moment, driving very well on what we think might be a heavier fuel load there. He's battling with the arrows of Hulkenberg there, which will now become the inside into turn 3. And now Hulkenberg around the outside trying to hold on to position. That switches to the inside at turn 4. These two still side by side. This is a great battle. We've got a retirement there. That looks like it's a Prost, which would be Artem Markelov becoming a cropper there out of P8. I'm pretty sure that was Markelov that we saw retiring from the race, and that is a real shame for himself and for the Prost team, looking to have one of their best races so far this season. And it's going to come to naught for Artem Markelov's side of the garage, as he will soon pull over to the side of the track and retire from the Brno Grand Prix.
So Markelov out of his 2nd race in the Grand Prix World Series. He's done well though, let's be honest. He's done brilliant in that car. And yeah, his car's on fire now, so he needs to get off as soon as he can really and stay out of the way of the other drivers.
So the car is on fire. He will pull over to the side of the circuit and stay out of the way. And that is a real shame for Markelov, having his best performance of his Grand Prix World Series season so far. That's a shame for the Russian. There we go, confirmation that he's out of the race. That promotes Piquet Jr. back up into 10th place as a result. Wittmann still ahead of Hulkenberg at this point, defending very well from the German, as Dixon continues to lead ahead of Bourdais. Fraines Wehrlein's in 4th, head of Kobayashi, who is also under investigation in this race. We've had so many investigations flying around today, Tom. It's really difficult to keep track of all of them. Danny Juncadella running 6th in the Minardi at the moment. How about this from the Spaniards? Started 7th in this race, is now up into P6. What a drive so far by him, Tom.
And it could get even better for him. In fact, Minardi really could do with a good haul of points here today. Christensen is nowhere near the points at the moment, so he needs to get his skates on and start supporting the team a little bit more and help his teammate get more and more points out of this. It's now or never for Minardi.
Well, it's going to be crucial in the relegation battle, and it's going to be even more crucial now because Paul di Resta will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grids. Do you agree with that one?
Yeah, I would agree with that. We just need to see what happens with the other incidents as well, how would that affect things. But yeah, I think you can't really argue with the di Resta one. I think he earned that penalty after that collision with Lotterer.
We still haven't had a verdict yet on the incident between Kamui Kobayashi and Kazuki Nakajima. They will probably be looking at that one next. We're getting a few funny race control ones coming in from our various watchers. Sample Topher to be investigated after the race of being ginger. This is someone who's talking to a blonde commentator. I'm not ginger. Motorsport Mike, Sam Hall to be investigated for inappropriate behaviour. I fully support that one. And Sam Hall saying again, Topher to sit at the back of the com box at the next race after being confirmed as ginger. What confirmation, Sam? Come on. You should know better than that. And, well, I might even lobby the race stewards to start docking points from Manor, which would be crucial in their relegation battle. Chris Cavaney is pointing out here that if Paul di Resta got that penalty, then Kobayashi should get the same thing. And it's a little bit more tricky than that, Tom, because from the onboard of Kobayashi's one, it did indeed look like that it was part Kobayashi getting down the inside, but also part Nakajima turning in on him. And what's your verdict on that one?
Yeah, I mean, the Kobayashi incident.
Yes.
Yeah, I initially thought it was a penalty, but then Nakajima cut across him in the last moment. But Kobayashi did come quite a way back, didn't he, to get the move done. As Van Don not able to get in front of Wittmann on this occasion, so Wittmann's going to be quite a tough driver to get past here for Van Don, who's done brilliantly from the back of the grid, avoiding all the chaos. And should he get his car to the end of the race, he's definitely on course for a points finish the way he's performing.
Well, Van Dorn was involved in that incident earlier on involving Kevin Magnussen and Sebastian Buemi, another incident that's under investigation in this race where Van Dorn, he started last in this race, Tom. We're only on lap 11, only a quarter way through the race, and he's in P12. If he can make up that many positions in so few laps, where's he going to end up finishing this race?
I would probably say top 6, essentially, with the way he's doing. But he needs to get by some cars on the racetrack, because otherwise he's going to start losing time in the battle with others. He's going to be battling with later on.
So, Robin Frames will run forward with now 2.7 seconds off the lead. He's not falling back too far from the leading duo that we're looking at now. Still only a second between those two. And I have to wonder whether Bourdais is just playing the long game at the moment and not pushing his car too hard. There is a very real chance of a second victory for himself and for the Onyx team here today, but Dixon, he'll want to do something about that to make sure that he picks up a win for himself in the lead of this championship, and he'll want to take as much of a stranglehold as he can. If he goes ahead and wins this race, that will be 145 points that he is on. Sebastian Bourdais, he's on 59 at the moment. Second place would give him 18, which will put him up to 77 points. Antonio Felix da Costa is out. Robin Frains, third at the moment, so 15 points. That will put him on 122. So Dixon, if he goes ahead and completes this victory, really taking a grip on the title this season.
Young Kindea keeping hold of 6th place ahead of the manners of Andretti and Grosjean, who are behind. Magnussen is in 9th place, Piquet Jr. holding on to the last point in 10th. Van Dorn's still behind Wittmann at this moment of time, so I wonder how long it's going to be until he actually does get past him at this point.
So Piquet Jr. in 10th, Wittmann in 11th, and Van Dorn in 12th. A nice little battle brewing between those three at the moment. Hulkenberg is right behind Van Dorn at the moment, and De Vries not too far behind himself. He's less than a second away from Hulkenberg. So we've got a group of about 5 cars together for the last points paying position as it stands at the moment. And Tom, we've just had the decision drop down. Kamui Kobayashi has been deemed to be at fault for the incident, and he will start the Buenos Aires Grand Prix from the back of the grid. Don't forget, it is appealable. Emma Butterworth and the Yara team can appeal against that, so if they feel as though the Nakajima also had a part to play in that incident. But as it stands, Tom, that's a decision of the stewards. They feel that Kobayashi was predominantly to blame for that accident.
Yeah, I mean, it's a debatable. I think it's one of those subjective ones, if I'm honest with you, the way that one's panned out. But it is the steward's decision, and like you say, Emma Butterworth is entitled to be appealing that one. Now we look at the Onyx of Sebastian Bourdais, the sole surviving Onyx after Nakajima was taken out by Kobayashi. Bourdais starting to fall back into the clutches of Robin Freins now as the Dutchman closes in.
We are starting to get to around the stage of that race now, Tom, where we will start to see the 2 stoppers coming into pits. Our first one in the League 2 race was at the end of lap 10. We are now on lap 13 in this race, and none of the top 3 yet to come into pits. We might see at least one of them through this time around as we are through the final sector of the lap at the moment, going through the final corner. Are any of these drivers going to pull into the pits? Bourdais goes through, Dixon goes through as well, and Frains comes into the pits, so he's the first out of the top 3 to come into the pits.
So where will he feed back out? He wants to be out in front of the Wittmann-Van Dorn battle, Will Freins, so we'll keep an eye out on that. 17 laps of fuel going in, so we expect to be in again before lap 30, so it's clearly a 2-stop strategy for the Dutchman. Out he goes. There's no one else in the pit lane, so he doesn't need to be waiting for another car to go past. As Grosjean's in the pits now, but Freins is already gone. Freins exits the pits in front of Wittmann, so I called it there, Topher, and Freins is out behind Nelson Piquet Jr.
So he's found himself a little bit of traffic to contend with, but with only Piquet Jr. immediately in front of him, it shouldn't take Frames too long to get past the BMS Scuderia Italia, especially with tyres. And oh, Roy Nissany has pulled over to the side of the track. It's a suspension failure. It looks like it's the rear right for the Israeli driver, and he pulls over to the side of the circuit, and that is retirement for the 40 Corsi team. That is our 7th retirement of the race within 13 laps here today, joining Di Silvestro, Da Costa, Lotterer, Nakajima, Buemi, Markelov, and now Nissany in retirement. That's a shame for 40 Corsi, especially when they're trying to avoid relegation into the 2nd division next season, Tom. That could be crucial.
That really could be crucial. 40 went into the race in the drop zone, and with Salo in the running, albeit at the back of the field, their only chances of points are with him now. I was just going to say, if Salo can get into the points before the end of this race is over, that would take them out of the drop zone should Midland not score.
Of course, it can all change within the next few laps. We still have a long way to go here in Brno, as Sebastian Bourdais now into pits as well. Dixon carrying on a bit longer into this race, and when is he going to pull into the pits for his first pit stop? Is he maybe on a one-stop strategy here? As we identified earlier, Tom, that Dixon not really pulling away from the field as we would have expected him to, with Bourdais and Frames right behind him. So maybe Dixon is not pulling away because he's on a one-stop strategy.
We'll see, and Bourdais' pit stop has got him out crucially in front of Frines, so Frines wasn't able to complete the undercut on him. Now it's all down to Dixon. Is he going to be coming at the end of this lap, or is he going to be going on the one-stop strategy, I wonder? As we look at Pascal Wehrlein, who's up to 2nd now, but yet to pit. Danny Juncadale up to 3rd. Is he going to be trying the one-stop?
It's quite possible. I don't think they've really got that much to lose, have Minardi, so we're in a good position to score points anyway, from Juncadale being right up there within the top 10 earlier on in this race. So maybe trying a one-stop strategy to get himself higher up. He runs 3rd as it stands at the moment. What lap is he going to come in? And here is Danny Juncadale, right on cue actually. A fantastic drive so far for the Spaniard. He came into the team in place of Jos Verstappen midway through the season. It was following the young driver test that we had at Istanbul, Teapot making a decision to drop Jos Verstappen from the driver lineup and bring in Danny Juncadale in his place. And on the basis of his performances here, Tom, good call.
Yep, so Frines goes past the AGS of Kevin Magnussen for 5th place as Dixon does come in, so this is crucial.
So Dixon was not staying with Sebastian Bourdais because of fuel loads. It was genuine pace on that Onyx, looking very good in race trim at the moment, being able to keep up with the Simtech of Scott Dixon. And where are they going to feed out Wehrlein onto pits? And Dixon's had to wait while Wehrlein came into pits. That could be disaster for Dixon. Where is Bourdais going to be? We're trying to have a look down the straight there, and Bourdais into the lead of the Grand Prix. That was absolutely disastrous for Scott Dixon. He was held up by Pascal Wehrlein as the AGS came into pits, and that has cost Dixon the lead of this race. And Fraines looking menacing there. Fraines will have his tyres up to temperature already as Nico Hulkenberg out his race. Oh, that looks like that's been a big one for Hulkenberg. Oh, we've got an engine tyre there, and it looks like he's pulled over quite sharpish into the barrier and damaged that arrows, but it is an engine problem for Nico Hulkenberg, and it is another retirement in Brno today. We had a lot in the League 2 race, and already we have a lot in the League 1 race, and we're getting an on-board view over here. It is indeed an engine problem for Hulkenberg out of the race, and he's one of our championship contenders, Tom. That is not the sort of time in the season when you want to be having an issue like that.
No, definitely not. Hulkenberg's championship chances are diminishing at the moment, with Dixon down to 2nd place now and Frines 3rd. Hulkenberg's it's going to take a miracle for him to get back into it now, if I'm honest with you. So that's 3 of our top 5 in the championship already out of the race.
It's been so dramatic. I'm absolutely loving these races today. So much going on. So much drama as we look at Stoffel Van Dorn getting down the inside of Marco Wittmann there for P6. And speaking of Stoffel Van Dorn, Tom, it's just flashed up on the screen here. The incident involving Sebastian Buemi, Kevin Magnussen and Stoffel Van Dorn will be investigated after the race. So the stewards feeling so they need to have another proper look at that one. That's 2 incidents now that they need to discuss once the race has finished, and plenty of penalties already handed out today, including to this guy here, Kamui Kobayashi, deemed to be at fault for that coming together with Nakajima earlier on, which put his fellow Japanese into retirement And Kobayashi will start Buenos Aires from the back of the grid, as Wittmann has actually got back past Van Dorn. So Wittmann very racy here at the moment. He got passed by Van Dorn a couple of corners ago and is now back past his Simtek again with Wehrlein right there. Wehrlein has come into the pits for his first stop and is on the fresher tyres. He won't want to be involved in this battle for too long because this is costing him a lot of time here. Wehrlein already trying to pull out of the slipstream of Stoffel Van Dorn, as Robin Frains, I think if Frains was to make the move on Scott Dixon, he should have done it already, because Dixon's tyres are now up to temperature and Dixon can get off after the back of Sebastian Bourdais. Kevin Magnussen into the pits as well, as his teammate Pascal Wehrlein can't quite get the legs on the Simtek down the straight. That Simtek very powerful in a straight line, and Wehrlein, even with the aid of slipstream, can't quite get the move done on the Belgian.
That battle's hotting up now, isn't it? Jonken Deya's pitted in for the first of what seems to be a two-stop strategy for him. Van Dorn down the inside of Wittmann for 5th position, and he's done it finally.
So Van Dorn up into P5 now, but will he be under attack from Wittmann once again? Wittmann got back past him again on the previous lap. It looks like Van Dorn does have the gap now, as Wehrlein now looking to get past Wittmann as well. He does indeed do so. Wittmann down a couple of positions and is now under attack from Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. The Prost doesn't quite have the race pace of the cars around him, but Wittmann putting in a solid drive at the moment in that sole remaining Prost P7 as it stands. There is your race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, 1.3 seconds ahead of Scott Dixon. And now Dixon's tyres are up to temperature. We will keep an eye on that gap to see if the Simtek can close down on the Onyx. We ride on board now with Nick de Vries, P9 at the moment at 2 points for the sole remaining VAR as it stands on lap 17 out of 44. Let's have a quick look through the order. Bourdais leads ahead of Scott Dixon, Robin Frains in third, Nelson Piquet Jr. fourth, ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Kobayashi is now past Wittmann for P7. So the Prost now at 8th ahead of de Vries, and Jonken Deya 10th in the Minardi. Andretti and Grosjean, the two Manners, just outside of the points in 11th and 12th. Kevin Magnussen in 13th, and Thomas Enger running ahead of Paul di Resta at the moment in 14th, Tom.
Yeah, but Enger's still yet to pit in this race, so I wonder if he's going to be trying the one-slot strategy in his maiden outing for the Midland team, as Kobayashi dives to the inside of Van Dorn. Now he'll want to keep it clean this time, because otherwise if he gets involved in another collision, he could well be facing a race ban for the next race.
Well, very close to a collision between those two, between Van Dorn and Kobayashi. The door firmly shut there in the face of the Japanese driver, very nearly losing a front wing in the process. Now here is Scott Dixon, who's actually closed in on Sebastian Bourdais in that last section. The gap is now down to 1 second exactly between those two. This is a battle that could kick off within the next few laps. Robin Frains still there in third, 2.9 seconds off the lead, and Danny Jonken Deya down the inside of Nick de Vries there. That Minardi really finding some form at the moment, Tom, getting past the BAR, which, it has to be said, usually is quite superior to the Minardi on power.
You would think so, but the Minardi's just been on form today. Jonken Deya, who's impressing so far. Don't know if the Minardi team will be in League One next season. They are perilously close to going down at the end of this campaign, but Jonken Deya will do everything he can to get this team back into the fight to beat the drop. But he's got some cars of which he'll need to overtake. Wittmann's the next driver up from him in 8th position.
Right, I've just had another piece of news come down here, Tom, and this is a very interesting one actually. This comes out of the League 2 race from Andrew Sampson of the Life team, as Nelson Piquet Jr. concedes 4th place there to Pascal Wehrlein. But here is the news, Tom. With a view to finalising Life F1's driver lineup for Season 3, Yuri Vips will drive in the final 2 rounds, replacing Marino Sato for Buenos Aires and Antonio Fuoco for Laguna Seca. So in League 2, Yuri Vips will get 2 outings, replacing each driver 1 time each. What do you make of that one, Tom?
I'm not so sure. I mean, why not with Sato and Fuoco? You know, they're in the why does he need to make the change when Sato and Fuoco are in the championship battle in the drivers, or does he just care about the team's championship?
Well, that's what I'm thinking here, Tom. I think he's probably more concerned about getting promotion into League 1 for next season. That could possibly be him effectively conceding defeat to Leighton House, as Danny Jonken Deya down the inside of Wittmann there for P8. That could be the Life team effectively conceding defeat to Leighton House within League 2, and just wanted to give Yuri Vips some time on the track ahead of potentially promoting him for Season 3. I mean, I don't know how successful this is going to be. At the moment, there is a gap of 65 points between the two teams in League 2, with 135 left on the table for the constructor standings. So that's what I'm gathering from that, Tom. I think Andrew Sampson is saying that Leighton House have already got this, and he now wants to look forward to Season 3.
Okay, fair enough. What I would say is that Dixon's right on the tail of Sebastian Bourdais. Is he going to be in the slipstream to have a go on into turn 1? I don't think he is in the slipstream. Well, he was in the slipstream, but not enough to the point which he'll go down the inside into turn 1. So he'll be thinking about when to overtake next. Will he decide to go to the inside into turn 3? The answer's no there, so we've cut away from him. As Christensen trying to fend off there, that looks like the manner of Roman Grosjean has just conceded a position to as Wittmann pits, so he must be on a one-stop.
And here could be the move, Tom. Scott Dixon looking down the inside of Sebastian Bourdais, and he gets the move done. So Scott Dixon, he has caught up to the back of his French rival, has got the job done into turn 5. Dixon back into the lead of this race, looking to get his second in a row after winning in Estoril last time out. And we keep mentioning, Tom, the championship. It's all about the championship when it gets to this point in the season. And those extra 7 points for Dixon, that could be what swings it when we come to the last race in Laguna Seca.
Yeah, and with Dixon firmly in the championship lead, the victory would most certainly help him a lot as Juncker tries to make a move on Kamui Kobayashi, who I don't... Has Kobayashi stopped yet in this race? I'm not sure if he has, to be honest with you. So Juncker is right behind him now anyway, and Juncker will be looking to get the job done down into turn 10, which will be the next best overtaking spot. Has he done it on Kobayashi? We're just looking at the graphic at the moment, and the answer is no by the looks of it. So we'll have to sit in behind him for a few more turns before he gets the job done. This is crucial for Juncker if he can get 6th place in this race, because Kobayashi and Van Dorn, who I believe are on one-stops, will be looking... They'll be thinking about pitting soon, but Juncker is just desperate to get past them to limit the damage.
Juncker looking very racy at the moment and effectively putting himself into the driver market for next season. The team principal of Minardi will be moving on, which means his drivers become free agents at the end of the season, and Juncker wanting to get a seat into Season 3. This is a good advert for himself as he's challenging Stoffel Van Dorn and Kamui Kobayashi, both race winners this season. And in a Minardi, this is a giant killing performance from Danny Juncker. We had a giant killing performance from Minardi earlier on this season when Tom Christensen finished second at the Sepang Grand Prix, and Juncker showing that there is indeed speed in Minardi as he's up to the back of the Belgian and the Japanese fighting for P6 at the moment. How is this battle going to go? This is fascinating to watch between these three. None of them wanting to give any quarter. We're now on the run down towards turn 5. Will there be any overtakes going on down into this part of the track? Kobayashi looking at the back of Stoffel Van Dorn, not able to get the move done there. So at the front, Scott Dixon has now pulled out an advantage of 9/10 of a second to Sebastian Bourdais. Robin Frains, 3.1 seconds, still there or thereabouts is the Dutchman. As Juncker again looking down the inside of Kamui Kobayashi there, this time into turn 8, now through turn 9. And a good exit out here could be crucial for any of these drivers if they are to hold position. Now on the run down the hill towards turn 10. We've cut away to Sebastian Bourdais, who's still 9/10 of a second behind Scott Dixon at this point. You can just see Frains in the background there. He's not challenging for the lead of the race at this moment in time. And looking at the graphics between 6th, 7th and 8th, it's as you were between those three.
Yep, so 3 seconds separate Dixon, Bourdais and Frains. Furlong's a long way back from them now after his pit stop. At least he's in front of Nelson Piquet Jr., who I don't think he's stopped yet in this one.
No, I don't think he has actually. Piquet possibly going for a one-stop strategy here, which means he will be coming in the next lap or two. Kobayashi having a look there at the back of Stoffel Van Dorn. This is a fascinating battle coming up between these three here. As Roman Grosjean now looking down the inside of Tatiana Calderon there for P14. Calderon's having not too bad a race here today, running up in the top 15 as a Colombian. And Van Dorn is into the pit, so it looks like Van Dorn is one of those drivers on a one-stop strategy. He comes in for what should be his one and only pit stop. Where is he going to feed out? It might be around about this battle here between Grosjean and Calderon at the moment. He'll want to get out in front of them and make use of that clear air to De Vries in 13th place at the moment. So where is Van Dorn? going to filter out. I'm pretty sure he will be overtaken by Di Resta. Will he? Or maybe not. It looks like it might have been a really good pit stop from Simtek, actually. Van Dorn out still in the points, and don't forget, Tom, he started this race in last.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal in this race so far. Van Dorn with the superior horsepower advantage over a lot of the other drivers. He's putting that to good effect in this. How far is he behind Magnussen though by the time he gets into Sector 1? He must be quite a bit behind, but that's good news in a way because he can use the clear track to start closing in on the other drivers. He's in fact 17 seconds behind Magnussen, so he's got a lot of clear track in front of him now. He could even try and go for the fastest lap.
And how is that going to work out when all of the two stoppers ahead of him come in for their second pit stop? If it's around about 28 seconds for a pit stop, as we think it is around here, that could potentially put him P4, P5 maybe. But of course, we still have a lot of laps left to go. That can change with every passing lap. There is your list of retirements. Hulkenberg, Nissany, Markelov, Buemi, Nakajima out as a result of that coming together with Kamo Kobayashi, who will start the next race from the back of the grid. Also out, Andre Lotterer taken out by Paul Di Resta earlier on in the race, and Da Costa and Di Silvestro becoming croppers on the first corner of the first lap. And there is a pass there. That is Marco Wittmann, who is conceding position, I think, to a Midland there. So
it was Paul Di Resta, I think.
It was Paul Di Resta coming through on the process of Marco Wittmann there. And here we go again, Marco Wittmann trying to get down the inside of Di Resta here, and they're running side by side through the penultimate corner. Di Resta holds on now into the final corner, so Di Resta up into P11, hoping to get some points from Midland here today, which will be vital for Midland staying in League 1 for next season. They are more or less on the bubble in terms of going down, and any points that Michael Gillespie and a team can pick up will be very welcome for the team. Wittmann back through into 11th again.
Yeah, I just saw Robin Freins outbrake himself a little bit into turn 8, so he's dropped back from Bourdais as a result of that, and now we look to see how is that affecting the leaders, because Dixon's now 1.5 seconds in front of Bourdais, and we've still got the second round of stops to come.
So, crucial times for Scott Dixon, trying to build up as much of a gap as he can before the second round of pit stops. He was under pressure from Sebastian Bourdais earlier on in this race. Bourdais taking the lead through the pit stops after Dixon was held up by Wehrlein coming into his pit box. Dixon building up that gap to try and ensure that that does not happen again going into the second round of pit stops. We're right on board now with Sebastian Bourdais. You can see Dixon just up the road there. The gap now 1.8 seconds between those two. As Jon Gadea down the inside of Kamo Kobayashi, is he going to make a move stick here? Looks like he might do. Yes, he does. Jon Gadea passes Kamo Kobayashi, and that is 5th place for the Minardi driver. Danny Jon Gadea having a storming drive so far today, getting past Van Dorn when a Belgian came into the pits, and now Jon Gadea passing Kobayashi on track. Kobayashi will start the next race from the back of the grid for his coming together with Nakajima earlier on, but with that penalty able to appeal, that one might not be done yet, Tom.
And talking to Kobayashi, Jon Gadea's finally just got past him, so Jon Gadea's got a clear road ahead of him, which he'll need to use very well before he comes in for his final stop.
So lap 24 out of 44, 20 to go here in Brno in the Czech Republic. Scott Dixon 2.1 seconds ahead of Sebastian Bourdais now, continuing to extend his advantage. Robin Freins in 3rd, Pascal Wehrlein quite a way behind this top 3, 18 seconds off the lead of Scott Dixon at the moment in 4th. Danny Jon Gadea has just got past Kamui Kobayashi for 5th place. Marco Andretti running well in the manor in P7, good points for them in the relegation battle, with 6th there for 7th place. Kevin Magnussen in 8th, PK Jr. in 9th, and Van Dorn on the one-stop strategy running in P10, having started last on the grid. And there's Kobayashi going down the inside of Jon Gadea here. Oh, we had a look at it, but Jon Gadea closing the door and holding off the Irish driver there. This is a brilliant battle going on between those two, and there is Nick De Vries in P14. De Vries not having the best day he's ever had in a Grand Prix World Series, out of the points at the moment, as Robin Freins into the pits from 3rd place for what should be his second and final stop.
Now, where will he feed back out? He wants to be out in front of Jon Gadea ideally, but he may be out behind not just Jon Gadea but Kobayashi as well, which would be bad news for Freins. As Di Resta outbrakes himself, it doesn't appear to have a problem, but he's continuing his way anyway. And Freins is out behind Kobayashi, so he's going to have to pass those two as quickly as he can in his fight with Bourdais and Dixon.
well, with Frains on the fresher tyres, and Yunkade and Kobayashi battling amongst themselves as they are now. Kobayashi looking down the inside. They've got Frains right behind them. Kobayashi does indeed make the move back into what is now P4, but Frains is right there to try and capitalise on this battle. Yunkade now looking in his mirrors more than looking ahead of him, with the fast Dutchman right behind him on the fresher tyres. Frains indeed looking down the inside, down towards turn 5. He makes it through into P5. Kobayashi is up next for the Dutchman. And how long is it going to take him to dispatch the arrows? This is going to be crucial for Frains if he's going to hold on to that podium. He's got a good gap to Wehrlein behind him before the pit stop, so should be fairly comfortable. But Frains won't want to waste any time at all getting past the arrows. Not able to get past him just yet. He's sticking behind him in the chicane sequence of 6, 7, 8 and 9 as PK Jr. is out of the race. Now what has happened to the Brazilian here? It looks like he's got it all wrong, and yeah, straight on into a gravel trap. A rough trip across the gravel there, and one of the wheels falling off his wagon, and that is PK Jr. out of the race.
So that's one less driver for Yunkade to be worried about. But either way, that's bad news for the BMS Scuderia Italia squad. Both drivers out of the Brno Grand Prix. No points for the team today, and that is surely their hopes of the team's championship are over now, I would say. And Dixon still in the lead, 2.3 seconds, so it's not a comfortable margin, because if Dixon makes a mistake somewhere, that's going to open the door for Bordeaux to capitalise. But with Frains already pitting, how will that affect things?
Well, Frains
just exposing Kobayashi now.
Frains is now past the Kobayashi for P4. That is going to be crucial for him in retaining that podium position that he is currently on course for. Wehrlein, they're in third at the moment, but still yet to come in for his second pit stop. The gap now between Dixon and Bordeaux, 2.4 seconds. So Dixon continuing to pull away from his French IndyCar rival. These two, multiple championships between them stateside. Dixon's got 6 of them, and Bordeaux has 4 of them. 10 championships between them over in IndyCar, and very successful duo, those two. Now translating that into a Grand Prix World Series as Yunkade is now back past Kobayashi again. It looked like Kobayashi got a bit wide, which allowed Yunkade to go through and reclaim 5th position. Kobayashi trying to get the slipstream back up to the rear of that Minardi, but not able to get close enough into turn 5. And Kobayashi, a little bit of a mistake there, losing out on P4. He'll want to try and make that position back as soon as he can. Following in his wheel tracks through 6 and 7, now on the run down to turn 8. He'll need a good run through 8 to 9 if he's going to get the move down into turn 10, the downhill braking zone of the hairpin. Hopefully we will stay on board with Kobayashi here as he is in Yungande's tyre tracks. He's closing in down into the braking zone, turn 10. Is he going to get the move done here? It looks like he is. Kamui Kobayashi, is he? Oh, Yunkade holding on around the outside. I was not expecting that, Tom. Yunkade keeps the outside line, which becomes the inside line into turn 11. Brilliant driving there from the Minardi.
Brilliant drive from Yunkade. I mean, this is what we were after from him when he was brilliant that young driver's test, or rookie test, I should say. But he's still battling away with Kobayashi. Kobayashi coming back at him, and it's not going to be too long before these two start pitting again for the second time. And Yunkade will need to watch Marco Andretti in front, as he won't want to be tussling with Kobayashi too much. Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd place, doing fine in the AGS so far in this one. He's had a quiet race, hasn't he, Wehrlein? He's not really been involved too much, but this has been a stellar performance from him.
I think it's probably a good thing that it's been a quiet race from Wehrlein, because if you remember back in the Estoril Grand Prix, he was running in 2nd place and then crashed on the 2nd lap. And is this Van Dorn going slow? I thought he might have been a little bit slightly, but on the straight he's pulling over to the side of the circuit and looks to be mechanical for the Belgian. That's a real shame. He was trying a one-stop strategy here today, and going from last up to the points, there's a confirmation it is a transmission problem for the Belgian. And oh, a tremendous drive from Van Dorn comes to an abrupt end. I mean, even though he hasn't completed the whole race distance, Tom, I'm still putting Van Dorn down as my driver of the day.
Well, you say that, that's his 5th consecutive retirement now for Van Dorn. I mean, there's no chance of him in the championship, but to actually help Simtek achieve it in the team's standings, and this is going from bad to worse for them at the moment. I mean, as far as the team's championship is concerned, Super Aguri is still top of the table, 20 points in front of Simtek, so it's still crucial that Simtek win this race.
We've said it so many times, Tom. Simtek, they have the fastest car on the grid. but that comes at the cost of reliability. As you point out, 5 retirements in a row for Stoffel Vandoorne. When he has finished races, he's only finished 3 races this season. 2 of them have been victories. The other one was the 5th place at the Birmingham Super Prix. 5 retirements in a row. In Scott Woodward, he's utilised this win or bust mentality for Simtech, which has worked in places but not others. And as it stands, Vandoorne has his 5th retirement in a row, and Dixon is in the lead of the Brno Grand Prix, looking for his 2nd win in a row. So it's bittersweet in some ways, Tom, because it works in terms of getting victories, but also doesn't work in terms of retirements.
Yeah, and if Bourdais was to pick now, Frines would be in front of him. He would completely undercut on him. So Bourdais needs to get the hammer down and start maybe lengthening the stint a little bit if he can, unless he's going to be coming in at the end of this lap. But I'm interested to see what his dash is saying. And it's the same with Dixon as well, because if Frines, or if Dixon pits in at the end of this lap, Frines may just squeeze out in front of him. And now Dixon's coming out towards the back marker, so I think if there was a time for Dixon to be coming in, now would be a good one.
He's coming up to the back of the home hero, Thomas Enger, making his debut in the Grand Prix World Series today at the Brno Grand Prix with the Midland team in place of Thiago Monteiro. Michael Gillespie saying this will be a one-off performance for Enger, just to give him a run out at his home Grand Prix. Enger running last of the runners so far, so I think it's fair to say, Tom, not really doing any sort of performance that is worthy enough of convincing Michael Gillespie to keep him.
No, he's not doing much. I mean, Lewis Williamson did well in the Birmingham Super Prix, if you remember, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if he was given a chance. If they want to be staying up, I think Williamson should be the driver given the opportunity alongside De Resta.
I find it very hard to argue against that one, Tom, but at the end of the day, it is down to Michael Gillespie. Our team principals, they all have free choice over their drivers and what they want to do in terms of who they place where. Kamui Kobayashi into the pits from 5th position, so that will be his final pit stop of the race. Jonker Dea also into the pits as well, so those two battling on track, coming in at the same time. It's now going to be a battle of the pit crews that might dictate who comes out on top in that particular battle. So, Magnussen's up into P6 as a result of that. Kobayashi back out onto track, and Jonker Dea right behind him, but Grosjean's actually got in the middle of them, if you look at a graphic there. Grosjean slotting in between Kobayashi and Jonker Dea. That is not what the Minardi will have wanted at all. He will have wanted to get up to the back of that arrows as quickly as possible. Here is Roman Grosjean, we're riding on board with now, the number 3 Manor car. You can just about behind him, see Danny Jonker Dea, who's ahead of Marco Wittmann, and Kobayashi just ahead of Roman Grosjean here. We now get the outboard shots here. Grosjean in the slipstream of the arrows, not able to get through on this occasion, but Kobayashi on the fresher tyres. He'll get those up to temperature and start to pull away from the Frenchman.
So Grosjean will be looking, I don't think he'll be looking to do a second pit stop of the race, as Calderon's just come out of the pit lane actually. That's not a mistake, that's her just coming out of the pit lane in 15th position. She's doing okay so far in this one. She is out behind Thomas Enger, but she'll be looking to close in on him later on in the event, as Verline pits from 3rd place in the AGS. And where is he going to be back out? He should be back out in just behind his teammate actually, so no problem there for Verline, who's on course for a good haul of points here today.
So Verline could potentially get a podium out of this should any problems befall the current top 3 of Dixon, Bourdais and Frines. Verline having a very quiet race at the moment, we're still getting the job done there. Currently in P5 behind Kevin Magnussen, his AGS teammate. Now Jonker Dea is not able to get past Roman Grosjean just yet. He's right up on the back of the Manor here, looking for a way through, and he'll probably get the move done into turn 1 this time around. We now cut back to it, and indeed Jonker Dea is getting alongside the Frenchman here, down into turn 1. Is he going to get the move done here? It looks like he is indeed. The Minardi straight past the Manor there. And these are points that's going to count towards a relegation battle. Jonker Dea, 7th place at the moment. He's on for a good haul of points here today. Manor offers some points as well, as are Prost with Wittmann in P9. De Resta, a couple of positions outside of the points at the moment. He's just come into the pit. Still possible, I'd say, for the Midland team if we do have any more attrition going into the end of this race. Anything can still happen within the Grand Prix World Series in the Brno Grand Prix of League 1. And now Scott Dixon into the pits, as well as Sebastian Bourdais. So now, another battle of the pit crews, Tom.
Another battle of the pit crews as Verline is trying to pass his teammate Kevin Magnussen, of which he does. So Magnussen lets his teammate go, And if anything happens up front, Verline could be within a chance of a podium here.
Right, here we go. Sebastian Bourdais pulling out, and that is Scott Dixon right in front of him. So, Simtek have won that particular battle of the pit crews. And I think Simtek with a better pit stop there, because it looks like Dixon has more of a gap to Bourdais than he did before, and also with a car in between them now. And that is Robin Frains who's between them, up into second place. Frains, he came in for a second pit stop earlier, didn't he, Tom? So
Yeah,
I think Frains is there on merit.
Yeah, so Frains in front of Bourdais on merit. I was saying to you earlier that if Frains was able to, so if Bourdais came in on whatever lap it was instead of a few laps, a few tours ago, Frains would be in front of him, but Bourdais will be on the fresher tyres.
Motorsport Mike, also known as Michael Gillespie, saying in the YouTube live chat, no one tells me how to run my team. Well, we were talking about Midland and whether they should bring in Lewis Williamson instead, and he's rather bluntly, I think they're saying that it's down to him, which we completely agree with. It is your choice at the end of the day. We will see what decisions he comes up with for the last 2 races of the season. And meanwhile, a development within the top 3 as Frains uses the undercut to get past Sebastian Bourdais into P2. Now here is a battle involving the Midland of Thomas Enger, with Tatiana Calderon right behind him, and this could end up being for points later on should we have any more drivers dropping out of this race. Enger holding on to P13 at the moment, but Calderon now on the attack in the Mastercard Lola, on the run down towards turn 1. And can the Colombian get the job done? No, she can't. She pulls out of the move into turn 1 and can't quite get it done on Thomas Enger, making his debut here today. The gap now between Dixon and Frains, 3 seconds. And Scott Dixon looking very comfortable in this race. And here is a move incoming actually, Tom. Bourdais on Frains.
Yeah, this is crucial for second place in the race. Bourdais gets back through, and the ice driver is through and up into second place. Brilliant from Bourdais. He deserved to get that place back with him being on the fresher tyres. Bourdais is through and up into second place again. Frains will be ruining that loss, but at least he's still going to come away with a podium finish here again today, which will be, looking at his performances, Frains has been on the podium 5 times this season, which will make it 6 today, should he remain in the top 3.
So I'm just trying to calculate the points here. If it finishes as it stands at the moment, Scott Dixon will have his 2nd win in a row and be on 145 points. Frains will get 3rd and go up to 122 points. There will be a gap of 23 points, almost a race win for Scott Dixon at the top of the standings with 2 rounds to go. That could be very crucial for him. Bourdais will get 18 points to move up to 78. He's not really there or thereabouts in championship contention. Actually, I think if Bourdais doesn't win this race, I think if Dixon goes ahead and wins this, then Bourdais will be out of the championship hunt. And looking at other standings, Da Costa's not scoring, Hulkenberg's not scoring, Lotterer is not scoring, Magnussen running 8th, he will pick up some points, which might help him. I think he'll still be just about in contention, but if Dixon goes ahead and gets this win done today, it'll be 3 wins from 4 races and put him in prime position to go ahead and claim this championship. And Bourdais now goes and gets the fastest lap point, so an extra point there to Sebastian Bourdais and an extra point off of Scott Dixon.
That's a really important one there for Bourdais. Just looking at the championship standings, championship as it stands in the drivers. Just get my drivers table up again, saying that Bourdais, with where he is at the moment, 2nd place along with the extra point for fastest lap, he would be on 78 points, I would think.
Yep.
So that would move him in front of Sebastian Buemi, Stoffel van Dorn and Kazuki Nakajima. That would go him up to 7th position.
I think he would still drop him out of contention if Dixon goes ahead and wins this race. Dixon getting past Mika Salo there, the sole remaining 40 Corsi, running 16th at the moment. 40, if they can get some points on the board in these last few races, might just avoid relegation. They are right in the thick of that battle and they're not scoring consistently enough. So 40 Corsi might be one of those teams that does indeed get relegated. They're on 41 at the moment. They're 1 point behind Midland, who are also on course for 0 as it stands at the moment. Minardi with Jonken Day in 6th. They will get 8 points. They'll put them up to 40, which means 2 points separates Midland in 10th, 40 in 11th, and Minardi in 12th. How about that, Tom? 2 rounds to go, and it's that close for relegation.
It's very much hotting up now, and it could get even better for Minardi if you know, if let's say, you know, one of the top 5 drops out, that's like an extra couple of points for him. And I've just seen Kevin Magnussen come in for a 3rd pit stop as well, Topher. He's dropped out of the points, but I suppose with him on fresher tyres, he'll plough his way back a few positions before the end of this race. He'll get past De Resta, no problem, and he'll get by, I would think, Grosjean and De Vries. And we'll see from there, but we haven't got long to go left in this race now, as Bourdais puts a lap on Salo in the 40. Do you see Salo keep, earning a place in the Grand Prix World Series next year?
I don't think so, if I'm completely honest with you, Tom. Mika Salo, who's brought into the team at the start of the season, he has been one of the mainstays within Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. He's done every single race so far this season, with the exception of Kyalami, when Luca Badoa was brought in for 1 round. Mika Salo, he picked up a 9th place finish in Fuji. He has scored points this season, but other than that, his best race finish is actually a P15. Not really, not really good enough, I think, to be completely honest with you there, Tom. And Dave Goddard, I think, will be having a look at the driver market to see who he can get in for next season. I know for a fact he's very happy with Roy Nissany, who unfortunately is out of this race, having retired earlier on, with Nissany having got 4 points finishes to his name and putting 40 in a position where they can get themselves out of relegation should these last few races go their way. So I'm fairly certain that Roy Nissany will be staying with the team in Season 3. But as for Mika Salo, Tom, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so too, unless someone is generous enough to give him a drive. But there's going to be so many drivers to choose from for next season, there's no question. So the gap between Dixon and Bourdais at the end of the lap is 3.2 seconds. So Dixon gradually pulling away, but Bourdais won't be giving up in case Dixon decides to make a mistake somewhere. Pascal Wehrlein in 4th place, 13 seconds off Robin Fines. I don't know if he's closing in on it at the moment, he probably isn't. But we'll keep an eye on the gap in the remaining laps anyway. 13 seconds is the gap, so at least that's a reference for you there, Topher. Danny Juncadella nearly 4 seconds off Kobayashi in the fight for 5th, but Juncadella just needs to watch Andretti really, rather than focusing on Kobayashi in front, because these points matter so much to the Minardi team. Going into this race, Minardi had only picked up 2 points in the last 10 races.
There's one thing I've just realised here, Tom, that I want to pick up on. Hasn't this race quietened down a lot in the last few laps? We had all of those investigations going on at the start of the race. There's penalties being handed out to the likes of Kamui Kobayashi, Paul De Resta, Magnussen and Buemi under investigation. Van Dorn was involved in that instance as well. There was a lap 1 incident between Piquet, Da Costa, Buemi and Di Silvestro. There's a lot going on in the opening 10 laps of this race. They seem to be a lot more behaved in the second half of this race.
Yeah, I could agree with that. The incidents seems to have gone down a little bit now, but at least that's a good thing for the stewards, so that they've got enough, well, say enough, they've got all of what they need for after the race. As Enger, who's just let Dixon go through, nearly coming together with Tom Christensen there. So Christensen will be looking to get into the slipstream of the Midland as they come down the start-finish straight, and Christensen is going to make a lunge down the inside of Enger as you think into turn 1. Does he go through? Yes, he does. So Christensen puts himself up into 14th place. It's highly unlikely he's not going to be. It's highly unlikely he'll be in the points by the end of this one, but he'll give it a good try.
That move effectively started from when Thomas Enger locked up while letting Scott Dixon lap him. That allowed Christensen to get right up to the back of Thomas Enger and make the move down into turn 1. The Czech driver now down into P15. Still running in this race, to his credit. He's done a good job to keep that Midland on track in his debut here today, as he now has a lap put on him by Sebastian Bourdais. Concedes that position easily enough, and he will now hope to capitalise on Tom Christensen when he concedes that lap to Sebastian Bourdais. Here is Robin Frains in P3, having just got past the 40 Corsi of Mika Salo. 9.5 seconds off the lead now, so not quite the same amount of keeping them honest as he was earlier on, as Grosjean dive bombs down the inside of De Vries for P9 there. What a move there from Roman Grosjean, a great move for the Manor team. That will be an extra point for Manor, and with Andretti in P7, I think this race might just about confirm Manor as staying in League 1 next season, Tom.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Even though they're not mathematically safe, it's hypothetical at the moment that they will stay up now, so I don't think Sam Hall is going to have anything to worry about going into the last 2 rounds. You just see all day putting a lap on Christensen there, no problem. And Dixon's in trouble.
Is that Dixon going slow? It is indeed. Scott Dixon pulling over to the side of the circuit. He's going to concede the lead there to Sebastian Bourdais. And the gearbox has packed in on the Simtek. We mentioned it earlier. The reliability of the Simtek letting it down time and time again. It's not going to be a second victory in a row for Scott Dixon. It's not going to be almost a race victory advantage in the championship. And oh, what a shame for the Kiwi. He was dominating this race. It would have been a commanding victory. And Tom, what can you say about that one? It's all come to naught for Scott Dixon.
That's a bad blow, not just for the drivers, but for the team's championship for Simtek. With both of their guys out of the race, that really puts a dent on it. Huge dent in their quest for both championships. As it stands, with Franz in second place, he would go to the top of the championship, even without a race win this season.
That will be the first time this season as Simtek has not scored a single point in a Grand Prix race. Every single weekend they've had double DNFs, but within those double DNFs, they've also had the bonus points for pole position and fastest lap. Sebastian Buemi took pole position, and currently Sebastian Bourdais holds the fastest lap, so that is going to be 0 points today for Simtek. And with Super Aguri set to get 18 points with Robin Fraines in P2 at the moment, that could be such a crucial moment for the Simtek team. They need to get the points on the board at this point in the season. And what do you think Scott Woodward is feeling at this moment, Tom?
Once again, absolutely distraught after that. And another race win goes begging for Scott Woodward and for the team. That promotes Bourdais into the lead, Fraines second, Verline third, Kobayashi fourth, Junkendaya up to 5th place now in the Minardi. He's got a 4-second lead still over Andretti, so Junkendaya just needs to keep his car on the road, and a good haul of points is going to the Minardi team. This is going to be their best result since Malaysia.
Right, just done the maths here, Tom. So Robin Fraines will move into the lead of the championship by 5 points to Scott Dixon if it finishes like this. Bourdais picking up 27 points as it stands with his pole position and fastest lap, as well as leading the race. That will put him on to 85 points, which will move him above Kevin Magnussen, currently in P10 and only on course for 1 point at the moment. But this man here, Robin Fraines, is set to benefit from this. As you said, Tom, he's not yet won a race this season. He's just been consistently scoring points. This will be his, I think, 5th podium of the season and 2nd place out of the last 4 races. Of course, we still have a few laps left to go. That could all change. But what a season it's been for Fraines. We haven't spoken that much about him over the course of the season, have we, Tom? He's just quietly gone about his business, picked up the podiums, picked up the points, and he's now set to take the lead in the championship.
It's incredible how this season has gone. And is that Christensen in trouble? I think he's just let the Midland go past that there, actually. Christensen's just let Thomas Enger go past. Yeah, I think Christensen's in trouble, to be honest with you, Topher, because that is not an overtaking spot, to be honest with you, the exit of turn 10, or between turns 10 and 11. I think Christensen will be ducking into the pits with electrical problems or something.
We'll keep an eye on that. I think you are spot on with that. You are indeed. Christensen pulls into pits with some sort of mechanical issue, possibly electric for that one. But Sam Hall saying in the YouTube live chat just before Dixon retired, actually saying, nice deep that Dixon has there, wouldn't you say? And then after that saying he takes full credit for Scott Dixon dropping out of the race. You menace, Sam Hall, talking about Scott Dixon like that and then him dropping out of the race. How dare you? But it does indeed keep it interesting in this race. It keeps it close in the championship because as it stands, Fraines would take the lead of the championship by only 5 points with 2 rounds left to go. It could all still change. This man here, Sebastian Bourdais, on course for his 2nd win of the season. This comes at a time in the championship where it could be crucial regarding the championship. Just having another look at the championship standings here, Tom. After this race, there will be 54 points left on offer for the drivers. Bourdais, with this win, he'll be 35 points off the lead, 54 remaining. It's an uphill battle, sure, but it's not impossible.
No, and with his good form at late, he's hit form just at the right time. So Bourdais just needs to put in these performances to give himself a chance at it, which he probably felt. He felt he had absolutely no chance whatsoever that he would be in the championship fight, because he made a late entry to the season as well. Don't forget.
He did indeed. He only came in from the Istanbul Grand Prix onwards, where he won in his first race back in the Grand Prix World Series. Imagine where he could be if he'd done the first half of the season. He missed the first 7 races of the season as the Onyx team was running Takuma Sato for the first half of the season. Bourdais now going to bring his second win of the season should he get to the end. And how do you think Ryan Ferris is feeling about this one? Because he ran Sebastian Bourdais last season and took the decision to drop him into the reserve driver role owing to inconsistent form from the Frenchman. And now, in with a shout of the championship with 2 rounds left to go, having only driven in what is now his 7th race.
It's been absolutely brilliant from Bourdais at the moment, and it could get even better for him. And Frijns in second place. If Frijns was to, I don't want to put any jinx on it, Topher, if you excuse me, but if Frijns all of a sudden had a problem, that would be even better for Bourdais, because Frijns, as it stands, is top in the championship.
It would indeed. This guy here, Pascal Wehrlein, is running in P3 at the moment. He's not in contention for the championship, but this would be his 3rd podium in the last 4 races should he get to the end. Wehrlein, he should have also been on the podium in Estoril as well. He's running 2nd when he crashed out. Pascal Wehrlein enjoying a very strong run of form in the last few races. 3rd place in Hockenheim, retired out of 2nd in Portugal, 3rd place at the moment as it stands in the Brno Grand Prix, and Wehrlein on course for a podium, and Phil Kinch may be thinking about next season and should he keep the German.
I should think so anyway, and just to correct yourself, it would be Wehrlein's 2nd podium in the last 3, but it would be his 4th podium of the season.
So I was looking at the number 3 on the standings readout that we've got here, that's why it was in my mind.
Okay, well, Wehrlein's just put a lap on Salo as he goes past, so Salo running in 14th position because of Christensen making that late pit stop due to a problem. And Frijns in 2nd place, over 10 seconds off Bourdais now, so it looks like Frijns is just settling for that 2nd place. He's far enough ahead of Wehrlein as well, so Frijns is not going to have any issues, I don't think, between now and the end of the race. There's Kevin Magnussen diving to the inside. This is for points. Diving to the inside De Vries to go back up to 9th position. So Magnussen fighting back after that late pit stop for himself, whilst his teammate is running in P3. Magnussen's got 9 seconds to make up over his former teammate at Haas in real-life Formula 1, Romain Grosjean.
Well, we're on lap 41 out of 44, so that gap of 9 seconds between Grosjean and Magnussen. Probably a little bit too much of a mountain to climb for the Dane there, but 2 points in 9th place. To add to Wehrlein's 15 for 3rd place, I think that's still a good day at the office for Phil Kinch and the AGS team. Winding down to the end of the League 1 Brno Grand Prix. Sebastian Bourdais on course for his 2nd victory of the season. Robin Frijns, who you run and walk with now, set to take the lead of the championship with a 2nd place finish here today. Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd ahead of Kamui Kobayashi, who will start the next race from the back of the grid after his earlier coming together with Kazuki Nakajima out of the race. Daniel Kadea, what a drive from him to run a P5 in the Minardi at the moment. Marco Andretti in 6th ahead of Marco Wittmann in the Prost. Important points for them as far as the relegation battle goes. Grosjean set to make it to double points finish for Manor in P8, and then Magnussen in 9th, De Vries in 10th, and De Resta in 11th, the last of the drivers on the lead lap.
So just looking at Wehrlein's just up in the Midland there, and whilst you say that, Topher, just looking at the team standings at the bottom end, and as it stands, Minardi would leap out of the drop zone on countback.
On countback? Oh, I mean, how close do you want it?
This is like goal difference in football, isn't it?
It is indeed, and when it comes down to countback, I think Minardi will probably forever hold the advantage to the end of the season, courtesy of Tom Christensen getting that 2nd place at the Sepang Grand Prix earlier on this season, and that is the reason why Minardi would be ahead of Midland in the standings on countback. Midland with De Resta in 11th, which is not going to be a point as it stands at the moment. We could still get a late retirement out of the top 10, which would then put Midland back ahead of Minardi, but only by 1 point. of course, all hypothetical at the moment. We're on lap 42 out of 44, 2.5 laps left to go here in Brno. Mastercard Lola, they're not going to get any points today, and I think we can pretty much confirm that they will not be going into League 1 next season. Mathematically, it's still possible if they get 1-2s in the last 2 races, but I think, talking realistically, Tom, I think we can say the Mastercard Lola will be going down to League 2 next season.
Yeah, and the number of points, the points that they got, so the points gap between Mastercard Lola and the 10th place team is just too big at the moment. They could even go down at the next race in Buenos Aires should results go against them. But they are going to go down, there's no question. They've just been far too inconsistent. I don't think they've had quite the driver lineup either to get them results either, despite Simona Di Silvestro winning that race in Vancouver, the non-championship race, before the season started.
It was a little bit of a false dawn for Di Silvestro and the Mastercard Lola team. She put in an absolutely fantastic performance in Vancouver to win that race, but it was non-championship. There were no points on offer there. But after that performance, we were thinking maybe she could be a dark horse for the championship, but it was a little bit of a false dawn. As I've said, only 1 point finish each for Di Silvestro and Calderon. Calderon finished 8th in the Sepang Grand Prix to get 4 points, and Di Silvestro 10th in Chennai to get 1 point, 5 points in total for Mastercard Lola, and maybe 2 insurmountable mountain to climb for the Mastercard Lola team, and I expect we will see them in League 2 next season. Back at the front, we are on the penultimate lap. Sebastian Bourdais 11.6 seconds ahead of Robin Frames, looking very comfortable at front. Not looking so comfortable there is Marco Andretti, who's gone wide there in what I think is turn 5. I think that is. He's done very well to keep that going. The gravel, as we know, Tom, very unforgiving in the Grand Prix World Series, and I'm amazed that he's got out of that without any damage.
Yeah, he's very lucky there, because he could have bounced across it, and that front wing ripping off the manner there, and that would have been an extra trip to the pits and a chance of points gone probably for Andretti, so he's very lucky to get out of that gravel trap.
Very lucky indeed is the American. He'll be keeping it a bit calmer from now on. At the front, we are on the last lap of the League 1 Brno Grand Prix. Sebastian Bourdais 11 seconds out in front. Here is Robin Fraines in second, about to put a lap on the Mastercard Lola. Tatiana Calderon running in P12 at the moment, now running on the nose cone of Pascal Wehrlein in P3. Will be another good result for the German today. Kobayashi there in fourth, and Jonker Deyer in fifth. Jonker Deyer for me, another contender for driver of the day. I called earlier that Van Dorn would be my driver of the day, regardless of his retirement. But Jonker Deyer for me, also a contender for that.
Yeah, Daniel, I think Jonker Deyer would be my driver of the day, Topher. There's no question for me. I know Wittmann's done well, as the Andretti, Grosjean, and Calderon actually, because Calderon has kept out of trouble throughout this one. She's done well up in 12th, but Jonker Deyer is my driver of the day, no question.
Well, back at the front, there's only a couple of corners left to go for this man here, Sebastian Bourdais. He capitalised on Scott Dixon's retirement earlier on to take the lead, and he's built up the gap to Robin Fraines behind him to be untroubled in the last few laps. He now comes around the final corner. It's victory number 2 of the season. Sebastian Bourdais wins the League 1 Brno Grand Prix. What a drive from the Frenchman. He kept Scott Dixon honest all race, and he picks up the pieces from Dixon's retirement to win at the Brno Grand Prix. Robin Fraines will take the lead of the championship with P2. A fantastic drive once again from the Dutchman. And Pascal Wehrlein, that is going to be his second podium in the last 3 races, and that will put him up there into top 10 in the championship. A great drive there from the AGS. Kamui Kobayashi will come home in P4. He ends up out-dueling Jonker Deyer from their earlier battle and will pick up P4. Thomas Enger there crossing the line to finish his debut Grand Prix at time, 13th place for the Czech driver. Here is Kamui Kobayashi out of the final corner. One of his better results of the season. He won in Taupo earlier on in the year. Results have been a bit harder to come by, but that will be a welcome 4th place finish for Kobayashi. And Danny Jonker Deyer, what a drive from him. 5th place for the Spaniard, and some important points for Minardi in that relegation battle.
What a superb performance from Jonker Deyer, absolutely brilliant. Andretti crossing the line in 6th, another good haul of points for him and for the Miller team. Roman Grosjean gets his first points for the team in 8th. Marco Wittmann, brilliant job from him today again in 7th place. And that boosts Prost points table to 50 points now, I think, which is a good margin well, it's 8 points, I think, now between themselves and the drop zone, so they've got a good gap going into the last couple of rounds, which you wouldn't have thought we'd be saying that 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Just to correct you, Tom, this is Grosjean's second points finish of the season for Manor. He finished 8th in Magny-Cours as well for the team, and now another 8th place finish here in Brno for the team, another 4 points for him and for Manor. Here is your official race results. Sebastian Bourdais, second winner of the season ahead of Robin Fraines, our new championship leader after that race. Pascal Wehrlein, third ahead of Camus Kobayashi and Danny Yonkadea, top 5 finish for him in the Minardi. Andretti and Grosjean, double points finish for Manor in 6th and 7th, with Wittmann, the meat and a Manor sandwich for Prost. Kevin Magnussen and Nick de Vries pick out the final points playing positions. Paul de Resta in 11th ahead of Calderon, Enger, Salo and Christensen, the last of our finishers. And then our retirees, Dixon, Van Dorn, Piquet, Hulkenberg, Nissany, Markelov, Buemi, Nakajima, Lotterer, Da Costa and Di Silvestro. Only 15 drivers making it to the end of this Grand Prix, a very eventful one here today. And fastest lap, Sebastian Bourdais. It's a perfect day for the Frenchman. He's taken pole, he's taken the fastest lap, and he's taken the victory. That moves him up to 6th in the standings after that victory. Still in with a shout of this championship. And looking at the points now, Tom, 54 points left up for grabs. The last of those I can still take it is Pascal Wehrlein. He's exactly 54 points behind. We can pretty much consider him out of the running. But 9 drivers still mathematically capable with 2 races left to go, Tom.
Yep, absolutely. And Fraines, what a performance from him again. He's third, second place in 4 races, has elevated into the top of the standings. And even though with Da Costa, Hulkenberg, Lotterer not scoring today, and as well as Dixon, it's still all to play for in Buenos Aires. I mean, if you remember back in Buenos Aires last year, Topher, I think we only like 9 finishes or something like that, didn't we?
Did prove to be a little bit of a car breaker. That is where we're heading next time in the Grand Prix World Series. Buenos Aires in Argentina for the penultimate round of the season. Tom, 2 races left to go. A very few points up for grabs now. Is getting really towards crunch time, and any retirements now, Tom, that could be the end of a championship challenge.
It only takes 2 to tango as well, and I wonder who will be doing the tango at the end of Argentina. Can Life and HRT or still promotions to League One? Will we see MasterCard Lola confirmed as relegated? And could the championship be decided? Because Robin Fraines can mathematically seal the championship if results go his way, so anything can happen now.
Well, the big story of today, Leighton House clinches promotion into League One for Season 3. A massive congratulations to Chris Cavaney and the team there. We will see them mixing it with the big boys next season. But for now, we have 2 races left to go in Season 3. We have Buenos Aires and then Laguna Seca. Make sure you do not miss them because they are going to be absolutely spectacular. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Topher Smith, alongside me Tom Cairns. See you next time.